Chapter 1505, Your Name is Darth Vader, Part 2. I love you, Anakin. Anakin, why are you treating me like this? Mother, you killed her. You killed her. If you haven't experienced the sadness of losing everything, how can you become strong? Your fragile heart is your greatest weakness. Obviously, what you lost is not enough. Ah! Anakin screamed, trying to open his eyes, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't make a sound. Even when he managed to open his eyes, all he saw was a blur. Pain. Every inch of his body hurt. It felt as if 10,000 electric drills were constantly boring into every part of his body. In a daze, he heard a distorted voice slowly say, "Do everything to save his life. No anesthesia, no blood transfusion. These will only weaken him. My only goal is to keep him alive. You can even put him in a container, as long as he's alive." "Yes," responded a synthesized voice, clearly from a robot. "I have an important meeting to attend. I'll leave him to you. All I want is the result," the distorted voice said, gradually fading away. Then, one horrifying tool after another appeared in Anakin's blurred vision. Electrodes, bone saws, pneumatic hammers, electric drills. These tools were directly used on him. The pain was excruciating, tearing through every inch of his skin. Ah! Anakin's screams were silent, his struggles futile. He couldn't even vent his pain. He was like meat on a butcher's block, helplessly enduring endless torture. This torment nearly shattered his will. He didn't know how long it had been. When pain had become a habit, when anger had become the norm, Anakin Skywalker opened his eyes again. His vision was still hazy, seemingly soaked in bacta fluid. But now, his connection to the Force was more active than ever. He felt an endless power within his mutilated body. Incompleteness and pain only made him stronger. The bacta fluid was drained, and the glass hatch opened. Anakin Skywalker stood on the platform, various pipelines plugged into his body. In front of him was a complex assembly of machinery. Several engineering and medical robots worked together, fitting a set of pitch-black mechanical armor onto his mutilated body. The process was still excruciating as the mechanical armor was integrated directly with his body. Rivets were driven into his bones, holes drilled into his flesh, and life support devices inserted into his internal organs. It was inhuman torture. But Anakin was used to this pain now. He didn't even flinch. Pain, still pain. But this pain only fueled the anger in his heart, making his dark power stronger. He would burn everything, destroy everything, crush this world that had taken everything from him. Finally, a robot approached Anakin, holding a black full-coverage helmet. Anakin's now completely inhuman face stared at the helmet, as if two beings were looking at each other. The dark eyes on the helmet looked hollow and indifferent, and the triangular respirator made it look perpetually angry. The robot placed the helmet on Anakin's head. Darkness enveloped his vision once again. He didn't know how long it took, but eventually, light reappeared before his eyes. This time, everything around him was clearly visible. Not only that, but he could also see detailed scan data of each object. With the help of the built-in devices, his exhausted heart started beating strongly again. His dilapidated lungs filled with air, and with each breath, a dull exhalation sound emanated from inside the helmet. Even his lost hands were restored. He raised his hand to inspect it, and under the black gloves were a pair of powerful mechanical prosthetics. Anakin felt the mechanical limbs as if they were extensions of his own body. He stepped down from the platform, his heavy footsteps echoing in the room. It seemed even his legs had been enhanced with auxiliary devices, allowing him to move faster. The door opened, and Darth Sidious entered, standing before Anakin. In his mechanical armor, Anakin towered over the old man, standing at 2 meters tall. Despite this, Anakin Skywalker knelt on one knee, showing his devotion. "At your command, my lord," Anakin said. Darth Sidious sneered. "Heh, what happened that day?" Anakin replied honestly, "I felt my mother's pain. Someone was torturing her, so I returned to Naboo and found Darth Maul there. He used my mother as leverage, demanding I accept him as my master." Anakin noticed his voice had become deep and resonant, a result of his destroyed vocal cords being replaced by an electronic device. The engineer had chosen a voice that was deep, majestic, and powerful. "And did you agree to his demands?" Darth Sidious asked, still sneering. "I would never bow to someone who torments my mother's soul," Anakin declared, the dark side of the Force surging within him. And then, did he try to kill you? Darth Sidious inquired further. He killed my mother. He took everything from me. He destroyed my entire world. I hate him. I will kill him. Kill him. Anakin roared, the dark side's power nearly spiraling out of control, causing the entire building to tremble. Darth Sidious looked at him with satisfaction, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Clearly, he thought he had killed you, but you survived. He didn't dare stay on Naboo for long because I was arriving soon. Your current state is excellent. Very strong, but you need further guidance. I will accept all your teachings and obey all your instructions, Anakin vowed. Ha! Then surrender to me. I will give you everything the dark side has to offer. You will become stronger, darker. You will wield supreme authority and endless power. With this power, you will avenge your mother, kill Darth Malthel. At that moment, you will be the heir to the dark side. Darth Sidious laughed maniacally. Anakin Skywalker bowed his head deeply. From today, Anakin Skywalker is dead. Your name will be Darth Vader. Let this name shake the entire galaxy. Darth Sidious declared triumphantly. That's right, Anakin is dead. Darth Vader, that's me, Darth Vader said. However, at that moment, his heart suddenly trembled. Darth Vader. This name seemed familiar. Darth Malthale had mentioned it. How did he know this name back then? Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 1. Finally, the day has come. Darth Vader has emerged at last. Haha. Chapter 1506. Anakin's Death. A crystal cup fell from a pair of delicate white hands, shattering into countless pieces on the ground. What did you say? Anakin, he's dead. Padme Amidala's face turned pale, and she could hardly stand. Yes, Senator Amidala. Speaker Palpatine just announced the news, said Dorme, Padme Amidala's loyal maid, with a worried expression. She took out a terminal and projected the message in a holographic display. The heroic and fearless battle hero, the true guardian of the Republic, Anakin Skywalker, was attacked by the separatist Sith Lord on the planet Naboo yesterday. Despite being seriously injured, the ultimate rescue failed, and he died heroically. Anakin Skywalker, the pioneer who resisted the tyranny of the Jedi Order, made outstanding contributions in the battle against the separatist invasion. The great speaker Sheev Palpatine warned everyone that the world of the Force is cruel and dark. The battle with the remnants of the Jedi Order, Count Dooku, and the Death Angel is no less severe than a fleet battle on the frontal battlefield. According to the speaker, the Force should not be something that people who yearn for peace should come into contact with. Why? Naboo, what happened? Padme Amidala held her forehead weakly. I don't want to read this kind of fake press release. I need first-hand information. There is very little information. We only know that our secret manor on Naboo was attacked. Even though we had arranged hundreds of guards around the manor, it was useless, Dorme said, lowering her head. We don't even know how Darth Malthale found the manor. The location was strictly kept secret, and very few people knew about it. Dorme patted her chest, still fearful. The governor of Dawn Star Planet, Tang Xiao, we met him several times in the parliament before the war broke out. At that time, I just thought he was so young. I didn't expect him to be the Death Angel of the Sith Lord. What has happened to this galaxy? How many evil and powerful people are still lurking around us? Padme Amidala didn't speak. She stood up with effort, but her legs were weak, and she almost fell. Dorme helped her up. No, I'm going to the speaker's office. You don't have to come with me, Padme Amidala said, walking out of her office quickly. She went straight to the speaker's office and broke in directly. At that moment, she showed no sign of weakness, roaring at Palpatine like an angry lioness. It's you! You murdered Anakin! You lied to him! You used him to destroy the Jedi Order, and now you've silenced him. In front of the current speaker, this is a very serious accusation, Senator Amidala, Palpatine said with a smile. But I can understand your current mood, especially considering your, unusual relationship with Anakin Skywalker. So this should be a private conversation, and there will be no official records. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and all the monitors in the office turned off. The secretary droid beside him also entered a shutdown state. Then, very seriously, he said, I wanted to save Anakin Skywalker's life. Believe me, Senator Amidala, more than anyone else. As a politician, I might as well explain it in a way you best understand. Anakin Skywalker, who would rather destroy the Jedi Order than stand firmly on my side. Why would I silence him? You are just an evil Sith Lord. There is no difference between you and the Death Angel. The matter of attacking the Jedi Knights is not over yet. Don't think that the Council will let it go. Padme Amidala slammed her hands on the table in front of Palpatine. Anakin, I will track it down, I swear. No, I think you have misunderstood, Senator Amidala. Allow me to explain my perspective on this matter, Palpatine said calmly. Do you know why I did not attend the hearing yesterday? Even though my opponents proudly accused me of crimes that did not exist, I did not participate, because at that time, I was rushing to the planet Naboo. Padme Amidala's complexion changed. There is a force connection between Anakin and me. I cannot deny that. I felt his force undergoing very strong fluctuations, so intense that it was heart-piercing. Palpatine continued slowly. So, I dropped everything and went to Naboo, but when I arrived, it was already too late. He looked at Padme, whose face had turned pale, and said, Anakin was lying on the ground, barely recognizable. The Angel of Death was standing beside him, holding an old woman hostage, who I believe was Anakin's mother. When he saw me, the Angel of Death judged that the defense forces were trying to surround him. He killed Anakin's mother again and fled without engaging me. In fact, if he had chosen to fight me, given my recent injury from Master Yoda, I might not have been able to defeat him. So, the situation is relatively clear. Palpatine shook his head. The Angel of Death captured Anakin's mother to force him to submit, but Anakin refused. In a fit of anger, the Angel of Death killed Anakin. That's how it happened. Simple, and I also heard the Angel of Death say that he resurrected Anakin's mother. I don't know what transpired between him and Anakin, but it must be the reason he was able to locate Anakin's mother so precisely. After all, for someone who has mastered death, he has the means to turn people into walking corpses and pretend it is resurrection. Where is Anakin's body? Padme asked, her voice full of grief. His mother's body is relatively intact and is currently in a crystal coffin. There are also 2 severely damaged robots. If you wish, I can hand them over to you. The memory of the robots also records what happened at that time. You can review it. As for Anakin, Palpatine shook his head. His body was almost completely destroyed. That's the literal meaning. He died at the hands of the Angel of Death, and leaving his body intact was almost a luxury. Chapter 1507. Pregnant Padme Amidala didn't know how she got back to the office. She curled up on the sofa in a daze, trembling all over. Domay hurried over to try to comfort her, but Padme shook her head with a faint smile and said, Go back first, Domay. I want to be alone for a while. Okay, I'm right outside the door. If you need anything, you can call me at any time. Domay didn't insist. She saluted and left the office. After the office door closed, the tears that Padme had been holding back finally spilled from her eyes. She no longer suppressed her inner emotions and wept loudly, almost heartbreakingly. All the pain, all the sadness, all the love, and all the happiness turned into bitter tears, flowing down her cheeks and soaking her clothes. She fell from the sofa to the ground, and on the soft carpet, she beat her chest and stamped her feet, feeling extreme remorse. From Palpatine's words, she understood the whole story and how the dead angel found the secret manor. It was he who resurrected Anakin's mother into a walking dead, allowing him to use this connection to find the hiding place. She believed it was her own negligence that caused Anakin's death. Even after seeing the Order 66 issued by Anakin himself, Padme still believed she could bring her lover back to the light. She believed that her loyal love and his mother's deep affection were enough to change Anakin's mind. But who knew that just less than a day later, things would come to such an end? From C-3PO and Rock Johnson's intermittent memory storage, she saw that Palpatine didn't seem to be lying this time. The dead angel did force Anakin to worship him as his teacher on the grounds that he resurrected Anakin's mother, but Anakin refused. Then the dead angel acted brazenly, and Anakin, not being his opponent, was eventually killed. Anakin, her lover, did he really leave her just like that? In just a few days, the Jedi Order was wiped out, Palpatine became the Sith Lord, and Anakin Skywalker was dead. Such drastic changes almost overwhelmed Padme, who was already in very bad health recently. She didn't know if she was tired from crying and fell asleep or passed out. When Padme woke up, she found herself in the bedroom of the mansion. Two medical robots with soft bodies and very gentle voices were taking care of her. Dome sat by the bed with a sad expression on her face. "Am I asleep?" Padme murmured. "Amidala, why didn't you tell me?" Seeing that she was awake, Dome rushed over and held Padme's hand tightly. "What's wrong?" Padme asked. "You're already pregnant. 2 months," Dome said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Is it his?" Padme turned her head to the other side and did not meet Dome's eyes. After a while, she said faintly, "Before going to planet Onderon, it should be." "Why? Why did you do this?" Dome still couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe that the smart and wise Senator Amidala, who was galloping in the political arena at a young age, had fallen so thoroughly in love. Her political strength and sharpness made it impossible to connect her with a weak woman who was willing to secretly conceive for her lover. "Dome, I'm not pregnant, you know?" Padme said suddenly. "But your body." "Dome." Padme turned her head, stared into Dome's eyes, and said very seriously, "It's Senator Amidala." Dome was in great pain. Padme Amidala raised her hand with difficulty, hugged her loyal maid gently, and said in her ear, "No matter what, Anakin or Master Yoda, they have not finished yet. We must complete their cause. Only in this way can we be worthy of their sacrifice." "Yes, yes." Dome also burst into tears. She understood how much sacrifice Padme had made in this decision, and she would continue to fight to the end in this increasingly cruel political arena while carrying her unborn child. "If it's a boy," Padme began, but her voice trailed off as she looked out the window, lost in thought. "It's Luke. If it's a girl, it's Leia," Padme said with a smile. In May of 20 BBY, W. With the issuance of Order 66, the Galactic Republic officially declared the Jedi Knights treasonous, initiating a campaign to wipe them out and hunt down every Jedi throughout the galaxy. However, for an order that had safeguarded the galaxy for over 25,000 years, their destruction was not merely a military issue. The decision made by Speaker Sheev Palpatine also faced severe political backlash. Within the Galactic Council, even many members who had once been loyal to Palpatine found it difficult to comprehend the order to exterminate the Jedi Knights, causing their support to waver. Leading the opposition, members of Congress, spearheaded by Bail Organa, began to publicly question the legitimacy of Order 66. They seized this opportunity to initiate formal impeachment procedures against Palpatine. In the parliamentary system of the Galactic Republic, impeaching the current speaker is a grave matter, often leading to significant political upheaval. Years earlier, during the Battle of Naboo, Padme Amidala, then the Queen of Naboo, had impeached the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Finis Valorum, resulting in his forced resignation. Similarly, Bail Organa's impeachment of Palpatine was a serious affair, as it not only questioned the legality of Order 66, but also the validity of the treason charges against the Jedi Order. If the Jedi Order was not guilty of treason, then who was? Introducing such a question was akin to detonating a nuclear bomb in a confined space. In the ensuing period, Palpatine and Bail Organa engaged in relentless debates within the Parliament, held multiple hearings, and formed an investigation team to scrutinize the entire matter meticulously. Despite the intense political struggle, the grand funeral of the war hero Anakin Skywalker was still held. Speaker Sheev Palpatine personally attended the funeral and delivered a speech, beginning with, "I always regarded Anakin Skywalker as my son." After his speech, Palpatine retreated to his seat, watching the funeral proceedings with a sorrowful expression. Deputy Speaker Masa Mehta quietly whispered in his ear, "I have arranged everything. The entire funeral process is designed to evoke strong emotional resonance in Padme." Chapter 1508, Anakin's Funeral Hearing. Masa Mehta's words, Sheev Palpatine nodded slightly, though his expression remained heavy and serious. Masa Mehta continued to whisper from behind him, "I invited the best designers to plan this event, pushing memories and sensations to their extremes. Recently, Padme Amidala's physical condition has not been well. If the information is accurate and she and Anakin do have an affair, this will undoubtedly be our chance." "Without Padme, Bail Organa is not difficult to deal with alone," Palpatine replied, barely moving his lips, speaking from his throat. Bail Organa has acted too impulsively. Now he feels he has the upper hand. Without Padme's assistance, he will undoubtedly be in danger, trying to accomplish everything in one fell swoop. This, on the contrary, is their biggest weakness. "I've already arranged it," Masameda whispered. Palpatine nodded, then took out a handkerchief and wiped the corners of his eyes, his expression growing sadder. Under the guidance of the funeral host, scenes from Anakin Skywalker's battles on the front lines began to play. Masterfully spliced and edited, each battle appeared extremely arduous and tragic. As the screen played, a choir sang praises to the fighting hero with melodious and deep voices. As Anakin faced danger again and again in the footage, the choir's voices rose and fell, with music, light, and shadow supporting the tragic atmosphere to perfection. Padme Amidala stood in the crowd. The relationship between her and Anakin Skywalker could not be made public, as a relationship between a Republican senator and a Jedi Knight was absolutely taboo. This would be seen as the Jedi Order intervening in the core of the Republic's power, violating the Jedi Creed. Therefore, Padme could only watch the grand funeral from an inconspicuous position. Despite her remote location, the arrangement of short-statured representatives around her, such as the Bis people, provided her with an exceptionally good view of the entire funeral venue. Watching the scenes and listening to the low-pitched singing and reciting, her tears flowed uncontrollably. She couldn't help but think of her last conversation with Anakin Skywalker, or rather, their last quarrel. Anakin believed her actions in the council were holding them back, while Padme felt Anakin couldn't understand her efforts. But now, seeing Anakin's bravery in the video, his injuries, his failures, and his perseverance, the weakest part of her heart was touched. She began to think it was her ignorance that drove Anakin to extremes. If she had been with him during the most critical and cruel battles, maybe Anakin wouldn't have turned out this way. Padme also thought of their secret wedding on Naboo, their happiest time. But it was also then that they drew boundaries with each other, the line between Jedi Knight and Republic Senator. This boundary made it impossible for them to truly come together, always creating an invisible wall. Padme began to feel that since then, she had never truly understood Anakin, and still held on to her pride as a member of the Republic. She began to feel she should have given up everything at that time and followed Anakin. Thinking of this, she burst into tears even more, her shoulders shaking as she cried silently. Finally, when Anakin Skywalker's body was solemnly carried out by the honor guard, gently placed into the pyre full of fragrant wood, and ignited into a raging fire, both the video images and the choir's singing reached their emotional peak. The music, lights, and the host all coincidentally reached their peak, creating an intense atmosphere. Padme Amidala, overwhelmed with grief and self-blame, couldn't hold on any longer. She was short of breath. Her heart felt as if it were being twisted by a knife. Clutching her chest tightly, she raised her hand and then passed out. Meanwhile, as the Council continued to seek vengeance for the Jedi Order, Shiv Palpatine's actions remained relentless. When faced with a motion from counselors led by Bail Organa, requesting him to cease the hunt for Jedi Knights, Palpatine only superficially agreed. He merely changed the hunting order to an arrest warrant. However, this arrest warrant was essentially meaningless. All Jedi Knights who had escaped Order 66 would never stop resisting, and their resistance was far beyond what ordinary soldiers could handle. Consequently, in the face of such fierce resistance, the arrest warrants often turned into kill orders. Simultaneously, due to the comprehensive arrest and pursuit of the Jedi Knights, the Galactic Republic temporarily halted its advances on all fronts. On nearly every battlefield, Jedi Knights served as battlefield commanders. With these commanders now deemed criminals, the army needed more time to regroup. For the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the most critical development was the cessation of the Galactic Republic's offensive on the planet Salukami. The fleet rebuilding plan of the Confederacy had not yet been completed, and they needed more time to reorganize. If the transportation hub and military stronghold of Salukami were captured, it would be disastrous. After the Republic fleet stopped its attack, General Grievous finally had the opportunity to reorganize his fleet and replan the next battle strategy. For the fourth civilization, particularly the northernmost portal of the Yago-Dur Galaxy defense line, this also meant narrowly escaping disaster. The 20th Army of the Galactic Republic had previously assembled an unprecedented fleet. Under the leadership of Governor Octavian Grant and Jedi Master Sha Kun, the army was on the verge of overwhelming the Yago-Dur Galaxy, causing extreme tension for Ji Wen. However, when Order 66 was issued, Master Sha Kun instantly transformed from a fleet general to a wanted criminal. Because she was with the fleet at the time of the order and not with the Marines, she managed to escape the clones' hunt. In the ensuing chaos, she killed numerous soldiers, commandeered a fighter jet, and fled despite being pursued by hundreds of Republic fighter jets. Consequently, the offensive plan of the 20th Army of the Republic was temporarily stranded. Chapter 1509, Kira Raid Battle, Part 1. As the relentless military advance of the Galactic Republic temporarily subsided, the Milky Way entered a rare period of calm. The Confederation of Independent Galaxies seized this opportunity to restore their war strength and strategize to prolong the conflict. Their current strategy was clear: delay the inevitable. The Confederation no longer harbored hopes of outright defeating the Galactic Republic. Instead, they aimed to drag the Republic down through prolonged engagement. In the eyes of military strategists observing the war, it seemed that the Confederation, particularly the Dawnstar Group, was maintaining a low profile in alignment with Count Dooku's directives. However, the actions of Dawnstar soon left everyone astounded. On May 29, 20 BBY, the Angalan-class Titan battleship Xuanwu, which had been docked at the outer spaceport of the planet Eriadu, suddenly departed and headed towards the fifth planet of the Eriadu galaxy, Tarastra, under the pretext of conducting combat exercises. This flimsy excuse did not fool the intelligence operatives of the Galactic Republic. They immediately sensed something amiss. A large number of intelligence personnel and spies sprang into action, focusing on tracking every movement of the Xuanwu. Outposts in the surrounding star areas directed their hyperspace fluctuation detectors towards the Eriadu galaxy. Sure enough, after a brief assembly with more than a dozen battleships near Tarastra, the Xuanwu entered hyperspace again. It broke through several hyperspace blockers and passed through the planet Darknir, arriving at Enark the next afternoon. The planets along the way were terrified by the Xuanwu's movements, even though it was merely passing by. The reputation of the Titan battleship Xuanwu was formidable. The Xuanwu's first battle had been during the Galactic Republic's siege of the Eriadu galaxy. In that battle, the Xuanwu single-handedly withstood the indiscriminate bombing of the entire Galactic Republic fleet. With its support, the entire Fourth Civilization fleet remained indestructible. Even when the Republic deployed 2 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts, their firepower was insufficient to destroy the Xuanwu. The result was a disastrous defeat for the Republic fleet. The Xuanwu had become a terrifying battleship capable of influencing the outcome of any battle. Consider the formidable fleet assembled by the Galactic Republic at the military base on the planet Kira: 3 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts, 95 Jaeger-class battlecruisers, 10 Knight-class star destroyers, 150 Architectons Psi-class light cruisers, and 300 small and medium-sized warships of various types. Despite such power, the primary command of the Kira Galaxy fleet remained defensive, highlighting their fear of the Xuanwu. Now, the Xuanwu's sudden move to the planet Enark made the Supreme Strategic Command of the Galactic Republic extremely nervous. Enark was not an ordinary planet. It was the true geographic end of the Enark waterway. The Enark channel was not a particularly large hyperspace channel, and due to its single-direction structure, only one direction could open hyperspace jumps. The Trade Federation had established a cargo transshipment base here hundreds of years ago. What was even more concerning for the Galactic Republic was that the planet Enark was not far from the planet Naboo. However, hyperspace turbulence between the two planets prevented the entry and exit of large-scale fleets. During the siege of Naboo 13 years ago, the Trade Federation had dispatched a cargo fleet of LH-3210 from Enark to Naboo. The Trade Alliance has maintained a strong defensive fleet on the planet Enako for a long time. Due to its limited strategic value, the Galactic Republic has never attempted to capture it. However, the sudden appearance of the Xuanwu on Inako has changed the dynamics, giving the planet the potential to launch a strategic offensive. Planet Naboo is now at the forefront of this threat. The Supreme Strategic Command of the Galactic Republic quickly devised several action plans. These included besieging the Xuanwu on Inako, concentrating forces on Naboo for a decisive battle, or launching a surprise attack on the planet Eriadu. However, all these plans were dismissed. The Republic's major fleets were preoccupied with hunting down Jedi Knights, who were originally the commanders of these fleets. The rank of a Jedi Master is equal to or even higher than that of an Admiral, making it risky to launch an offensive before the turmoil subsides. Additionally, Eriadu had been fortified over the past 6 months. Even without the Xuanwu, its defenses could hold out for a long time. If the Xuanwu were to return during this period, it would spell disaster. Consequently, the Republic adopted a conservative strategy, mobilizing forces to Naboo to intercept the Xuanwu. However, just as the Republic fleet arrived on Naboo, the situation changed. On the early morning of May 31st, 20 BBY, a small fleet suddenly appeared in the Kira galaxy, the assembly point for the Republic's southern border fleet. This fleet, which included 5 sword-shaped warships and 8 bird-shaped warships, appeared on the edge of the Kira galaxy, reminiscent of the Star Wars of Semillus. The Republic's border post quickly reported the sighting, and intelligence personnel immediately recognized the 5 sword-shaped warships as disaster-class battlecruisers equipped with particle light spears. Upon exiting hyperspace, these battlecruisers took up their positions and began charging their particle light spears. The Republic fleet in the Kira galaxy responded swiftly, heading towards the edge of the galaxy at full speed. However, traversing an entire galaxy with sublight engines would take at least a day. To complicate matters, the bird-shaped battleships deployed hyperspace blockers to prevent the Republic warships from making short-distance hyperspace jumps. By the afternoon, a destructive beam descended upon the outer spaceport of Kira planet. These powerful beams caused violent ripples on the spaceport's deflector shield with each strike. As the beams faded, the core of the beam remained visible, with a helical beam wrapped around the straight beam, adding to the devastation. Chapter 1510, Kira Assault, Part 2, Continuous Bombardment. Unlike warships that can move at any time, the massive spaceports deployed on the outskirts of the planet Kira are immobile. They can only stand still, enduring the relentless bombardment of particle light spears. The Republic fleet had no choice but to divert part of the fleet that had just arrived on Naboo to defend against the attack of the Titan battleship Xuanwu and return to the Kira galaxy for reinforcements. After several hours of bombing, this small fleet, including 5 disaster-class battlecruisers, deactivated the hyperspace blocker without hesitation, initiated a hyperspace jump, and departed. According to scans from the frontier post, they retreated to Pax, an inconspicuous galaxy not far from the planet Kira. However, their departure did not mean the bombing stopped. Because it takes more than half a day for the speed of light to reach the planet Kira from the edge of the galaxy, the continuous bombardment of the particle light spears continued for more than half a day, even after the small fleet left. Finally, after one of the spaceports endured over 5 hours of continuous bombing, its deflector shield was overwhelmed. The ensuing particle light spears directly pierced through the unstable structure of the spaceport. In a violent explosion, the massive ring-shaped spaceport, with a diameter of more than 15,000 meters, was blown into countless fragments. A large number of rescue capsules and spaceships swarmed out at the last moment, trying to escape this hell, but many did not make it in time and were destroyed in the explosion. This outcome infuriated the Republic fleet. They immediately dispatched a fleet of 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers and 20 Hunter-class battlecruisers to hunt down the attackers. The two sides encountered each other in the Pax Galaxy. As usual, the squadron of the Fourth Civilization stayed at the edge of the galaxy and deployed hyperspace blockers, forcing the Republic fleet to exit hyperspace at a distance of 4 light hours from them. The commander of the Republic fleet, in a fit of rage, ordered all Jaeger-class battlecruisers to launch fighter jets and initiate the first wave of attacks on the enemy fleet. All battleships were fully powered and approached at sublight speed while maintaining evasive maneuvers. As expected, the Republic fleet was attacked by particle light spears as they approached, but due to their irregular evasive maneuvers, none of the warships were hit. After a period of long-range attacks, the disaster-class battlecruisers ceased bombing and began to recharge. After a few hours, the Republic's first batch of 2,000 fighter jets finally got close. Based on previous battles, if there were not enough fighters and air defense ships to cover them, these 2,000 fighters could easily tear the enemy fleet to pieces. However, as they approached, 8 bird-like battleships appeared on the sensor screens of the Republic fighter formation. These warships, each 1,254 meters in length, had a rectangular body with a structure resembling a sharp beak at the front, making them look like large crouching birds. As soon as the Republic fighters approached, their engine output suddenly dropped, causing their speed to plummet. Immediately afterward, the bird-like battleships turned their hulls sideways and unleashed a barrage of powerful laser beams from the massive firing ports on both sides of the ships. These colorful laser beams, resembling rainbows, were beautiful but deadly. A single beam swept across, destroying the slowed-down fighters one by one. These were not blaster beams, nor turbo lasers. They were something far more devastating. The laser cannon, not an electromagnetic gun or a laser beam, a light-speed weapon. For the fighter group that is already approaching, there is no need to aim at all, just fire. With the speed of these fighters reduced, it is impossible for them to effectively evade and avoid the firing angle of the opponent's laser cannon. The fighter jets of the Republic were destroyed in pieces, and the communication channel was filled with the cries and screams of the Republic's fighter pilots. On the holographic battlefield star map of the command center of the flagship of the Republic fleet, the green marks representing the Republic's fighter jets were scattered one by one, turning red. Retreat! Retreat immediately! After the commander of the Republic fleet gave the order, the fighter formation began to turn around and flee quickly. Only more than 600 fighter jets managed to escape this decelerating hell. Those warships, which looked clumsy like big birds, appeared to the Republic pilots as messengers from hell, wielding scythes and harvesting countless lives. They still didn't know that the names of these battleships were derived from this, Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers. At the same time, the Republic fleet was within 10 light minutes of the Fourth Civilization fleet, and the particle light spear fired again. This time, the distance between the two sides was close enough. In fact, 10 light minutes is also within the effective range of the Hunter-class and Knight-class ships. But the problem is that the turbo laser cannon they use is a sub-light speed weapon, while the particle light spear is a light speed weapon. In this kind of long-distance shooting, it is obviously the Republic that suffers the most. None of their firepower was able to hit the target. On the contrary, their warships took several particle lances, and the deflector shields of the 3 Jaeger-class battlecruisers were in danger. As the Republic ships drew closer, the threat of particle lances grew. The commander of the Republic fleet had to deploy another 1,000 fighter jets to try to cover the advance of the fleet. But the division of labor between the opponent's Hell's Angel and Disaster is very clear. The Hell's Angel is responsible for defense, and the Disaster is responsible for offense. The Republic fighter formation was still unable to break through the deceleration net and retreated again after suffering heavy losses. At this time, the Disaster class and Hell's Angel class began to concentrate all their firepower on the Republic battleship. It was proven that the colorful laser cannons of the Hell's Angels were not only a deadly threat to fighter jets, but could also cause damage to battleships. When the distance between the two sides was close to 1 light minute, only 5 Knights and 14 Hunters were left in the Republic fleet, which originally consisted of 5 Knights and 20 Hunters. The Knight-class ships, with their thick armor, could withstand a few more particle light spears. Such a loss forced the commander of the Republic fleet to consider retreating. But how could they retreat at this time? If they turned around and left, they would be bombarded by the particle light spear again, and the particle light spear fired from behind would be even more difficult to dodge. In desperation, the commander of the Republic fleet issued an order for the entire army to assault. At this time, their warship sensors detected 5 small black warships mixed in the opponent's battleship formation. Thank you, Zhufeng Laojiang, for the 100 starting coins. What happened to me these past 2 days? The sudden power outage yesterday consumed my last day off, and the automatic save didn't save a single word. I lost more than 1,500 words of content. Then today, I suddenly felt unwell, vomiting and diarrhea, and what I vomited up at night was still breakfast. My wife said that I might have a second bout of illness, but I didn't seem to have a fever. It was too difficult. During this period, there were also problems and conflicts with the current unit. This place is still different from what I imagined when I transferred here. This period of time has been truly unpleasant. But forget it. Life is like this. Chapter 1511, Kira Raid Battle, Part 2. Boom! A thick stack of documents was ruthlessly thrown in front of Alan, the director of the Intelligence Department. A pad terminal placed on top of the documents fell directly to the ground, its holographic projection scattering debris and wreckage images across the room. Admiral Corney of the 17th Army of the Galactic Republic looked livid. She glared at the middle-aged woman in her 40s and said with endless anger, "By this afternoon at the latest, I want to know what happened to my fleet." Alan, the director of the Intelligence Department, quickly stood up and said, "Our investigators have followed the salvage team to the battlefield. We will carefully analyze every detail and try to restore what happened completely. However, the scene is really too messy. Even sorting out the wreckage will take at least 5 days. 5 days? Did you know that the Separatist Titan warships were stalking the planet Naboo in the Enico galaxy? Did you know that the Separatist guerrilla fleet destroyed our intercepting fleet and obliterated one of our medical outposts?" Corney was furious and roared, "Yes, yes!" Facing the Admiral's anger, Alan didn't dare to argue. "Listen, I only give you 1 day. Find out why our fleet failed." Corney roared loudly. "Remember, if we can't investigate the situation of this encounter, then we can't even stop the Separatist guerrilla fleet. But you have to know that we are the 17th Army. The 17th Army. In order to fight against that Titan battleship, our fleet strength can even rank among the top 5 in the Republic. But now even a guerrilla fleet can ride roughshod over us." "Yes, I'll do it right away," Alan responded quickly. On the outskirts of planet Kira, almost all the garrison fleets were in a state of combat. They patrolled around the planet and even expanded the patrol range to the entire galaxy. Thousands of engineering ships were dealing with the wreckage flying around. These were the remnants of the destroyed spaceport, flying around under the effect of the explosion's aftermath, causing secondary damage to the surrounding warships and facilities. Who would have thought that the Galactic Republic assembled a large army on planet Kira, only to be easily outmaneuvered by more than a dozen Separatist warships, resulting in the destruction of a spaceport? That's not to mention the fleet sent out to intercept failed to return and was wiped out by the small guerrilla fleet of the enemy. Such disgrace was simply unacceptable. Governor Lynch Hauser of the 17th Army had now rushed to Coruscant to explain to Chancellor Palpatine in person. Meanwhile, on planet Kira, more than 100 soldiers were being held separately in an interrogation room dedicated to the Ministry of Intelligence. The intelligence personnel were questioning them repeatedly, trying to piece together the entire combat process. The Republic warships sent to intercept the guerrilla fleet consisted of 5 Knights and 20 Jaeger-class ships, carrying 4,000 fighter jets. Out of these tens of thousands of naval troops, less than 2,000 returned. It was unbelievable, especially considering there were 5 Knights in this fleet. This new type of warship was so valuable that the entire 17th Army was equipped with only 10 ships. This fiasco had also caught the attention of Kuat Power Dock. Chief Engineer Lila Blissex personally presided over the investigation and had sent an engineering investigation team to the site, hoping to find out why the Knight-class ships were so easily destroyed. For Kuat Power Dock, this was a matter of life and death. If the investigation revealed a problem with the performance of the Knight-class Star Destroyer, the Galactic Republic, which had invested heavily in these ships, would undoubtedly hold Kuat Power accountable. Before the investigation team departed, Lila Blissex handed the team leader a crystal card containing a substantial sum of 50 million credit points. She had prepared for the worst-case scenario. If the issue truly lay with the Knight-class performance, she was ready to cover it up, even if it meant resorting to bribery. This bold move was indicative of Lila Blissex's unscrupulous nature, which had always been a hallmark of her career. As the interrogation progressed, many details of the battlefield began to emerge. After the fighter formation approached the enemy, the engine output significantly decreased. Are you certain? What was the range of this effect? Did it impact the weapon power? How long did it last? Was there any abnormality in the fighter equipment? I need you to confirm again. Was it the small black spaceship that destroyed the Knight-class Star Destroyer you were on? No response? Why was there no response? According to the Republic's naval combat regulations, the anti-stealth radar should remain operational during combat. Why didn't you detect the enemy's hidden stealth spaceship until the end? How many stealth spaceships were there? Was it 5 or 10? Don't give me any signal confusion. The Knight-class Star Destroyer is equipped with the most advanced detection radar. When you were approaching, when were you hit by the opponent's particle light spear? Which evasion plan did you adopt? Are you sure it's called the Hells Angels class? Is this warship a professional anti-aircraft warship? What's unique about the colorful lasers? A large amount of information began to be collected, and the Republic's intelligence personnel started to draw preliminary conclusions. After the battle commenced, with a 4-hour distance between the two sides, the Republic's interception fleet immediately adopted an evasive posture and advanced at full speed. Simultaneously, to strike the enemy warship faster, the Republic's interception fleet launched a fighter jet group. During this process, the Separatist guerrilla fleet remained stationary, and the long-distance particle light spear bombardment lasted less than 20 minutes. After realizing the ineffectiveness of their attacks on moving targets, they ceased firing. The intelligence department surmised that the Separatist fleet had likely deployed traps, which explained their stationary position. Unfortunately, the Republic fleet commander misinterpreted this as a sign of fear, believing the Separatist warships were avoiding close-quarters combat with the Republic warships. Subsequently, the fighter group engaged the enemy fleet but experienced deceleration at a distance of 0.5 light minutes from the enemy fleet and was shot down by numerous Hells Angels. The Republic fleet continued to advance, and both sides exchanged fire. However, in terms of long-range bombardment, the Republic fleet was outmatched by the particle lances and suffered continuous losses. As the battle transitioned to close combat, small black spaceships suddenly appeared on the battlefield, leading to the destruction of 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers in the Republic fleet within 20 minutes. The remaining Jaeger-class battlecruisers fared poorly in the artillery battle and were quickly defeated by the Hells Angels and Disasters. In the end, 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers attempted to escape, but 4 were destroyed by particle light spears. The 5th attempted a hyperspace jump, but was torn apart by a star mass projection in hyperspace. The fragments have since merged into the stars at the center of Pax's galaxy. Throughout the entire battle, the Separatist guerrilla fleet lost only 2 Hells Angel-class battlecruisers and 1 Disaster-class battlecruiser. While the Republic fleet was completely wiped out, wreckage salvage and analysis from the battle site were underway. The debris of dozens of warships and thousands of fighter jets formed a large debris belt, with distorted corpses and broken hulls inside, creating a shocking scene. When the Separatist fleet withdrew, they completely blew up the wreckage of the warships that could not be taken away. After the Republic's salvage force spent considerable time recovering the wreckage of the Separatist warships, they found that there were not many valuable items left. Therefore, they focused on the wreckage of their own warships, especially the 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers. In the end, the professional teams managed to find a lot of useful information. "It's a torpedo," Minister of Intelligence Allen said firmly, presenting the analysis report to Admiral Corney. You mean, it was torpedoes that destroyed those Knight-class Star Destroyers? Corney asked, frowning. Alan nodded. Yes, it's a torpedo. But it's not a proton torpedo. It's a brand new type. This torpedo is very powerful. According to our analysis of the wreckage distribution and escape velocity, it can destroy a Knight-class Star Destroyer with such force that it could even blow an asteroid in half. Those small black battleships in the report should be the carriers of this super torpedo. A torpedo boat? But how can such a small spaceship get close to a Knight-class Star Destroyer with a tight air defense network? Corney, an old-school general, immediately grasped the key point. That's right. They launch at close range, Alan nodded. This is the only way this kind of torpedo can hit our warship. We don't know exactly how these small warships can get so close before being discovered. According to the survivors' accounts, they had been fighting with the Separatist warships for some time when these small spaceships suddenly appeared. So, we need to investigate 4 key points. First, what is the combat capability of the Hells Angels? What is the function of the colorful lasers? Second, how did those small spaceships approach our ships? Third, what is the principle behind the torpedo that can directly destroy a Knight-class Star Destroyer? Finally, what is the mechanism that can slow down our fighter jets? Corney said. The opponent's small spacecraft should have been shot down, Alan said. A survivor mentioned hearing the communication team say that the Tokla Star Destroyer shot one down, but the Tokla Star Destroyer was too damaged. We are still trying to extract information from the battleship database, but the situation is not optimistic. The on-site salvage team has also begun searching for the wreckage of the black spaceship that was shot down. Corney took a deep breath and lay down on the sofa. He ordered a low-strength spice for himself. In this dire situation, only the stimulation of the spice could clear his mind. After a long time, he asked again, assess the situation. If the separatist Titan battleship Xuanwu leads the fleet to attack the planet Naboo, considering the disaster-class battlecruiser, the Hell's Angel-class battlecruiser, and the small black spaceship with super torpedoes, what are our chances of winning if our main fleet relies on the planet Naboo? Alan shook his head. There are too many variables. It's hard to be sure. But we can understand one thing. The particle light spear equipped on the disaster-class battlecruiser can launch an attack from a super long distance. Although the threat to battleships is not significant, for a fixed target like a spaceport, it is devastating. And if their target is the planet itself. Corney's face changed slightly. That means we can't rely on the planet's own defense system to defend. We must take the initiative to attack. Do you realize that if we take the initiative, are we really going to launch an attack on the separatist fleet supported by the Xuanwu? If so, what does it mean? Alan asked, his voice tinged with concern. Even if we can win, the main fleet of our 17th Army will be severely depleted, he added. Admiral Corney threw the pad terminal aside in frustration. Request reinforcements. Send the investigation results to Governor Lynch Hauser and inform him that with the emergence of new separatist warships, our current forces are no longer sufficient to stop the separatist fleet's actions. Alan hesitated, showing signs of embarrassment. With all due respect, General, according to our recent intelligence from Coruscant, Bail Organa and a group of congressmen are impeaching Speaker Palpatine. Sending a message for help now would only exacerbate the situation. Corney snorted coldly. It was Palpatine who launched Order 66 to hunt down and kill the Jedi Knights, so he must bear the consequences now. If we had a Jedi Master, we wouldn't be in such a passive position in this battle. Also, aren't the representatives from the Kuat power dock here? Scare them. Tell their investigation team that their Knight-class Star Destroyer was wiped out in less than 20 minutes. We have reason to believe that the battleship's performance is extremely flawed. Is it okay to threaten them like this? Alan asked, taken aback. If you don't scare them, how can we get them to cooperate and provide benefits? Corney replied coldly. We've faced a significant failure, and I need to manage the situation to minimize the damage. Shouldn't I receive some compensation for the mental stress? Alan nodded in understanding. Understood, General. I will go to Kuat's investigation team immediately. Don't forget to have Kuat's representatives go to Coruscant to lobby for reinforcements. Only then will we cooperate with them and resolve the issue of the Knight-class Star Destroyer, Corny instructed, waving his hand dismissively. Understood, Alan replied. Meanwhile, in the capital of the planet Eliadu, the city of Elysian, the governor's mansion and command center of the Sesvena sector of the Fourth Civilization were bustling with activity. General Ling Liang, the governor of the Sethwena Star region, was reviewing the combat documents from the recent battle. Despite their complete victory, Ling Liang's expression remained stern. Of the 12 Purification-class stealth special service ships, only 5 returned? Ling Liang asked the Solarian engineer beside him. Do you know how much those 12 Purification-class ships cost? If we continue to suffer such high losses, it will be impossible to win this war. To put it mildly, it will also be difficult for you to secure future orders for Purification-class ships. Thanks to the old Na Wretched and book friend 22206-184048557 for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 1512, Operation Harassment, Part 1. Hearing Ling Liang's words, the Solarian scientist immediately became anxious. His speech, already fast, now seemed to be at 8 times the normal speed. The requirements are very strict. If there is any mass projection in the surroundings, it will cause the invisibility to fail. The size of the spaceship cannot be too large, which makes it very fragile and its survivability very low. It is absolutely impossible for us to use the stealth special service ship without any loss. Ling Liang shook her head and said, We are not in the previous universe now. You must understand this. This is a brand new universe, a brand new galaxy, and a brand new war. The purification-level stealth special service ship is based on the previous universe's technology. If we directly copy it, problems will naturally arise. She pointed to the list on the holographic projection screen and continued. The war we are facing now is not the war against natural disasters in the legendary age. The natural disaster war was about using the power of the galaxy to fight against overwhelming destruction. But now, we can only use a small part of the Milky Way to contend against the Galactic Republic that occupies its core. Therefore, it is absolutely unacceptable to use the purification-level stealth special service ship as a one-off warship like before. With the deepening of the Fourth Civilization's education on history and humanities, many people began to call the previous war against natural disasters the Natural Disaster War, and the history of this period was also referred to as the Age of Legends. This terminology was intended to make that period of Black history seem vague, more mythological and legendary, similar to spiritual symbols such as the descendants of Yan and Huang. This era, though long and storied, inspired countless generations of Yanhuang people. This period of false history has completed its mission and will continue in the most appropriate way. However, those who systematically study the Age of Legends and natural disaster wars are limited to a small number of people in the upper echelons of the Fourth Civilization, especially within the scientific research department. Only through the guise of the Age of Legends and natural disaster wars can they understand the source of countless technologies in the Mothership database, as well as the research and development background of technologies from different civilizations. The original design direction of the Purification-class stealth special service ship was to replace the opponent's super battleship, not to be mass-produced cannon fodder like the Knight class. It is impossible to achieve all aspects of the design without increasing the volume. The Solarian scientist was anxious, spouting a burst of technical terms that ordinary people could not understand. Ling Liang remained calm and said, That's right, you might think I am bullying you and making things difficult. But I believe your Solarian intelligence is far greater than this. The purification-level stealth special service ship's scientific and technological data is ready-made, and I don't even think it can arouse your interest. So, give me a little surprise. At this moment, a well-proportioned man in the uniform of an admiral walked in, Rear Admiral Malcolm Granger of the Fourth Civilization. He is the General of the Air Force in Command and Conquer Generals, and is currently assigned to the Siswena sector as Ling Liang's adjutant. He looked at the Solarians who were rushing about and said, "Governor Ling, the first step of our strategy has basically been achieved. The response of the Republic fleet is also. In our plan, they really acted because of the Jedi Knights. We couldn't let things go, so we had to choose the safest approach. By doing this, we managed to tie down the entire main fleet of the 17th Army with the Xuanwu and a small number of outdated Cole-class battlecruisers. Next, our guerrilla fleet can strike everywhere, waiting for the right moment to attack the Republic's vital forces." The Solarian scientist seemed to have some ideas at this point. He babbled about professional terms such as phase, mass, and hyperspace, and then walked out on his own. Ling Long flipped through the document in front of her and said, "Relying solely on the Purification-class stealth special service ship and the gravity well generator to set traps is not advisable. Even without a technological breakthrough, we need to formulate a more detailed and effective plan. Only through careful planning can we improve the survival rate of our stealth special service ships." "This time is enough," General Granger said. "As long as the stealth special service ship demonstrates the ability to easily destroy the Republic's large warships, the Republic will be very afraid. They won't guess that we don't have many Purification-class stealth special service ships. They will only hesitate to take the initiative to attack because of their perceived power. The next step is to attack the planet Zeheth. I'll leave that to you, General Granger," Ling Long said. "There is no difficulty in this battle," General Granger replied. "The crux of the problem is always the Jedi Knights. When the Galactic Republic ends their pursuit of the Jedi Knights, our actions will not be so easy. At least for now, the Titan battleship Xuanwu can still pin down their main fleet. Currently, our combat results are far from meeting the Governor's requirements. We must seize this opportunity to temporarily disable the Republic fleet on planet Kira. This way, when the Ji-Wen people's Yago-Dur planet is invaded again, we won't be fighting on two fronts," Ling Liang said. "Yes," Major General Granger nodded and gave a military salute. Following the orders of Tang Xiao, the governor of the Fourth Civilization, Ling Liang, the governor of the Sisvena Star region, launched her own battle plan. She first had the Titan battleship Xuanwu move to the planet Eniko. This strategic move forced the Galactic Republic to follow their lead, thus losing the initiative. Coupled with the aftermath of Order 66, even though the Republic fleet had superior forces, they did not dare to provoke the Titan battleship Xuanwu. As a result, the guerrilla fleet, composed of Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers and Disaster-class battlecruisers, had ample room for action. After the guerrilla fleet raided the planet Kira, destroyed a spaceport, and then set traps on the planet Pax, they annihilated the fleet that the Galactic Republic sent to intercept them. The Republic, not daring to take any action, was left on the defensive. 2 days later, General Malcolm Granger led another guerrilla fleet of similar size and surrounded the planet Zeheth. Chapter 1513, Harassment Operation, Part 2. The planet Zeheth is home to the Zehethbra, a warlike and tyrannical race that resembles the Ursenes. The Zehethbras often serve as bounty hunters and mercenaries throughout the galaxy. Notably, due to their formidable combat capabilities, the Zehebras were once considered by Darth Plagueis as potential candidates for the clone army. Their thick fur is so resilient that even machetes cannot penetrate it, making them a somewhat weakened version of the Wookiees. However, their reproductive ability far surpasses that of the Wookiees. Ultimately, Darth Plagueis chose the Injoli for their more extraordinary physical abilities, and later, humans were selected for their adaptability. After the outbreak of the war, the planet Zeheth firmly aligned itself with the Galactic Republic. This decision was influenced by the Republic's assessment that if the Zehebras joined the Separatists, they would provide a significant number of soldiers capable of countering the clone troopers. However, when Rear Admiral Malcolm Granger led a guerrilla fleet composed of 6 Disaster-class battlecruisers and 10 Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers into the gravitational field of Zeheth, the powerful Zehebra had no choice but to seek assistance from the Republic's 17th Army. At that moment, Governor Lynch Hauser of the 17th Army was in Coruscant, explaining the reasons for a recent fiasco to Speaker Palpatine. Simultaneously, he was engaged in bribery to mitigate his responsibility. Admiral Corney, the commander of the 17th Army Navy, was also involved in corruption, accepting bribes from the Kuat Power Dockyard and tampering with combat records to redefine the disastrous defeat as a loser victory. The 17th Legion of the Republic was initially a marginalized unit with limited fleets and troops and few resource-rich planets within its jurisdiction. The only notable asset was the Republic Naval Academy on the capital planet Vogel. However, as the war progressed, the 17th Army became the frontline defense of the Galactic Republic against the Fourth Civilization and the Titan battleship Xuanwu. This sudden increase in power led to rampant corruption among Governor Lynch Hauser and Admiral Corney, who quickly succumbed to the flattery and bribes from inner circle nobles. Consequently, the urgent plea for help from Z-Hess was ignored by the 17th Army. One day later, Major General Malcolm Granger's guerrilla fleet began to blockade Z-Hess, seizing almost all transport ships on the planet. He issued an ultimatum, demanding the Zehebras surrender within 3 days. The 3-day ultimatum was strategic, as the guerrilla fleet under Granger's command could have crushed Z-Hess's resistance in mere hours. The Galactic Republic had always been wary of barbaric and warlike non-human races like the Zehebras, especially after the decree to disband local defense fleets, leaving planets like Zeh-Hess virtually defenseless. Representatives of the Zehebra people petitioned the Republic Congress for reinforcements, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Speaker Palpatine was preoccupied with dealing with the impeachment efforts led by the Bail Organa faction, leaving the Zehebras without support. The 17th Army was busy collaborating with the Kuat Power Shipyard, deceiving both the upper and lower echelons. Consequently, the Zehebras, a race with little political influence in the Republic, were completely overlooked. Less than a day after the ultimatum was issued, the Zehebras surrendered. While the planet Zeh-Hess might hold no strategic value for the Galactic Republic, its surrender was a significant gain for the Fourth Civilization. It effectively created a bridge between the Eliadu Galaxy and the Marathal Galaxy. Previously, the planets Marathal and Harankar, both under the control of the Fourth Civilization, had inconvenient transportation links. The planet Harankar lacked a stable hyperspace channel connection. However, with the surrender of Zeh-Hess, a stable connection between Marathal and Eriadu was finally established. The presence of a large electromagnetic nebula in the Malastol Fjord meant there was only one viable direction for hyperspace navigation, which conveniently faced Zeh-Hess. With a more secure rear, the guerrilla fleet led by Major General Malcolm Granger expanded its range of operations, attacking dozens of surrounding planets. Simultaneously, in a move seemingly coordinated with Ling Lang's military actions, the Prime Minister of the Fourth Civilization, Francis Underwood, made a public speech. He openly expressed support for the Jedi Order. Underwood stated that although the Jedi Knights had always been adversaries of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, they were respected enemies. He expressed deep sorrow over the Jedi's recent, unwarranted misfortunes. He emphasized that the Confederation of Independent Galaxies was an inclusive regime and announced the establishment of the Holy Advent Academy, an open academy of the Force on Dawn Planet. He warmly invited the Jedi Knights to seek refuge on Dawn Planet, offering them shelter. In a similar vein, Count Dooku, the supreme leader of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, made a public statement welcoming the Jedi Knights. Count Dooku's words had a profound impact, akin to detonating a nuclear bomb. His unparalleled prestige as a former member of the Jedi Order meant that even Master Windu's reputation paled in comparison. Dooku's invitation was likely to sway many escaped Jedi Knights to join their former elder. This development infuriated Palpatine, who was already in a state of desperation. In his rage, he issued an order to retaliate against the Separatists. Chapter 15-14, The 17th Army in Desperation. The Speaker of the Republic was furious, and the consequences were dire. The war, which had paused briefly, reignited with renewed intensity. On the eastern border of the Milky Way, the Republic fleet resumed its assault on the Confederacy of Independent Galaxies military center, the planet Salukami. General Grievous, the military commander of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, likely cursed his fate, Simultaneously, on the southeastern border, the Galactic Republic launched an attack on the strategic planet Fallen. The business and technology alliances in this region were in turmoil, and the military pressure caused the planet Skako to waver in its allegiance to Coruscant. However, the situation varied in other regions. In the northeastern Milky Way, separatist forces had been largely defeated, rendering further conflict moot. Near the planet Mandalore, the Republic's Second Galaxy Army, led by Master Windu, had become a dominant force. With the loss of a key warlord, local forces no longer heeded Coruscant's commands. In the northern galaxy, the Republic struggled to rebuild its defenses, halting any further offensives. Meanwhile, in the southwest, the Fourth Civilization faced two fronts: the 20th Army's advance in the Yagodur Galaxy to the north, and the 17th Army's push in the Eliadu Galaxy to the east. In response, Palpatine ordered a counterattack. Octavian Grant, a brilliant new generation general of the Galactic Republic, promptly sought an audience with Palpatine. Grant, with his exceptional strategic acumen, presented his attack plan convincingly. Palpatine, impressed, allowed Grant to proceed at his own pace, emphasizing the need to decisively break the Separatists' defenses in the Yagodur Galaxy. Conversely, Lynch Hauser, the governor of the 17th Army, lacked military expertise and persuasive skills. Despite his presence in Coruscant, he failed to influence Palpatine's decision. Consequently, the task of launching a counterattack in the Dawn Star direction fell once again to the 17th Army. Admiral Corney of the 17th Army, an unremarkable general, was preoccupied with the substantial bribe he had received from the Kuat Power shipyard. When the counterattack order arrived, he was utterly bewildered. "What did you say? Speaker Palpatine wants us to launch an immediate offensive? Is this a joke? Didn't he see that we were just asking for reinforcements?" Admiral Corney exclaimed, his face pale with shock. "Separatists have publicly supported the Jedi Knights, which has infuriated Speaker Palpatine. This is no longer just a military issue, it's a political one. Mishandling it could jeopardize our careers." Lynch Hauser, governor of the 17th Army, stated solemnly via holographic projection. In his 50s, with a goatee and a bald head, Hauser wore an army green uniform, a departure from his usual attire, to present a formal report to the speaker. "You don't understand at all. Our main fleet is pinned down by the separatist Titan battleship Xuanwu. Any strategic maneuver we attempt is futile as long as the Xuanwu shadows us. Additionally, the separatists can continuously harass us with their particle light spears and super torpedo boats." Corney shouted, his face contorted with frustration, because he found that the most critical mistake he made was deploying his main fleet to the planet Naboo to try to intercept the Titan battleship Xuanwu when it fled to the planet Enako. Due to the presence of the Xuanwu, he had to maintain a sufficient force advantage to deter the opponent, rendering his main fleet immobile. Both sides were in a state where whoever took the initiative to attack would suffer significant losses. If he had remained stationary, he could have sent the Xuanwu to the Inako galaxy while keeping his main fleet on the planet Kira. Upon reflection, it became clear that the Xuanwu would not dare to take the initiative to attack the planet Naboo. If the Xuanwu did attack, the main fleet of the 17th Army would mobilize, likely blocking the Shu Anwu on Naboo and forcing them into a disadvantageous battle. Jumping into hyperspace is particularly troublesome for a super battleship of the Xuanwu class, and the route between planet Kira and planet Naboo is more convenient than the one between planet Enako and planet Naboo. However, now that he had transferred the main fleet to Naboo, the situation remained unchanged. The Xuanwu still dared not attack Naboo. The problem was that the transportation environment on Naboo was far inferior to that of the transportation hub on Kira. This seemingly simple exchange resulted in the 17th Army effectively trapping itself. If the main fleet of the 17th Army entered hyperspace and jumped elsewhere, the Xuanwu could immediately attack Naboo. By the time the main fleet returned, the Xuanwu would have had enough time to turn Naboo into ruins. Navigating hyperspace is not straightforward. You can't turn around anywhere or return at any time. Especially for large-scale fleets, after jumping, you must wait for hyperspace fluctuations to subside, the hyperspace engine to recharge, and track data to be recalculated. This gave the guerrilla fleet of the Fourth Civilization a broad strategic space to harass everywhere. This was contingent on the guerrilla fleet's ability to cause significant damage with a small number of ships, which, unfortunately for the 17th Army, the disaster-level battleship with particle light spears cruisers was capable of. The governor of the Fourth Civilization Sesvena Star region, Tiger Lingliang, made a brilliant move. During the sensitive period following Order No. 66, any actions by the Xuanwu would make the Republic's generals extremely nervous. This nervousness led to overreactions, blocking their own strategies. Admiral Corney's best course of action at that time would have been to do nothing. Regardless of the Xuanwu's actions, he should have remained stationary. Once it was clear that the Xuanwu could not return in time, he could consider attacking their home, the Eliadu Galaxy, or following them to force a confrontation. This situation was a comprehensive game of strategy and psychology. General Corney found himself in a desperate situation due to Speaker Palpatine's order to take the initiative to attack. He had no other choice. He could not transfer the main fleet away from Naboo, because doing so would mean losing the political center of Naboo, a critical asset for the Republic. Losing the Speaker's hometown would be an unforgivable failure, one that might lead him to consider drastic actions. In the holographic projection, Lynch Hauser's middle of the Mediterranean Sea appeared slightly brighter, indicating that he had not lost his hair due to the stress of the situation. Admiral Corney had been under immense pressure these days. In other words, there was no way to procrastinate any longer. If he delayed any further, he would no longer be the governor, and his career as an admiral would be over. But what about being proactive? As mentioned before, Planet Inako is the cargo distribution center of the Trade Federation. It has very comprehensive defense and logistics facilities, making it a tough nut to crack. What's more concerning is that the hyperspace channel between the planet Naboo and Planet Inako is notoriously difficult to navigate. These two factors are the reason why Planet Inako, despite being within the Republic-controlled area, remains as stable as Mount Tai. But now, these two factors have become the epitaphs on the grave of the 17th Army. This means that the massive battleship formation of the 17th Army must pass through an unstable hyperspace channel, necessitating entry in batches. They would then have to attack a well-defended facility with compromised logistics support, all while facing the Titan battleship Xuanwu guarding Planet Inako. And these are not the only challenges Admiral Corney faces. He is also in an embarrassing situation. This time, the Xuanwu did not bring the entire fleet from the Eliadu Galaxy. Accompanying this Titan battleship are only about 20 Cole and class battlecruisers and 5 Dunov-class battlecruisers. Dozens of other Kilometer-class battlecruisers remain in the Eliadu Galaxies, poised and ready. After Corney spent a full hour explaining the key points to Lynch Hauser, the governor of the 17th Army, the gravity of the situation finally dawned on him. He slumped to the ground, tugging at his few remaining hairs. Bastard! Bastard! Speaker Palpatine won't listen to my explanations anymore. In his eyes, we have more than 200 capital ships, over 300 small and medium-sized warships, 5 times the force of the Separatists. Yet, we dare not take the initiative to attack. This is our incompetence. But the problem now is that if we really take the initiative to attack, the only viable target is the Inako Galaxy. You should know that this will be a disaster, General Corney said. The situation is already dire, Governor. I can only suggest that, no matter how difficult it is, Chairman Palpatine must rescind his order. It's because of you. You bastard, why didn't you understand such a simple separatist strategy? It's so easy to fall into their trap. Lynch Hauser jumped up and cursed. Admiral Corney, equally anxious, pointed at Lynch Hauser's nose through the holographic projection and retorted, "When the Xuanwu ship headed to the Inako Galaxy, weren't you the most nervous? You couldn't afford to lose Naboo. If you did, it would be all over. You demanded immediate action. Now that the situation has turned sour, you start shifting the blame? You are a military commander. Do you understand? As the governor, I provide political advice, but you have the authority to decide on military actions, don't you? I told you that you must give me a solution now. Otherwise, I will not be the governor, and I want you to be buried with me too. Lynchhauser roared loudly. Corny slammed his fist on the table, but began to force himself to calm down. In short, let's calm down first. Calm down. Something has happened, and we can only find a way to solve it. Of course, we have to find a way. I'll go to Deputy Speaker Masameda immediately. Maybe he can give us some advice, but this trip will inevitably lead to hemorrhage. Let me tell you, you will at least cover half of the activity funds. I know you have benefited a lot from Quat Power Dock. Lynchhauser said. Masameda's appetite is not small. Corny said with a gloomy face. Maybe he won't be satisfied with the little things Quat gave us. Then mortgage your several luxurious manors in the inner ring. Lynchhauser roared. At this moment, Admiral Corny suddenly clapped his hands and exclaimed, Wait a minute, I have a solution. Say it! What is it? Lynchhauser asked eagerly. The Anako Galaxy is the cargo distribution center of the trade union. Do you understand? The trade union, Corny explained. You mean we should approach the trade union representatives? Like their parliament representative, lot dude? Lynchhauser was momentarily stunned, but his expression began to relax. Exactly. The trade union is known for playing both sides. They are businessmen driven solely by profit. If we offer them the right price, they could tamper with the defense system of the Anako Galaxy. We don't need to go too far. Just forcing the Titan battleship Swanwu to retreat from the Anako Galaxy would be enough for us to handle it, Corny elaborated. Lynchhauser stroked his goatee thoughtfully and nodded. Indeed. It's a subtle move, not an overt act of aggression. If we pressure the border and the Swanwu is forced to retreat, even Dawn Star would find this outcome acceptable. They wouldn't make things difficult for the trade union. The key is to offer enough incentives. Lot Dude or Newt Gunley, these cowardly Neimoidians won't stick to their principles if the price is right, Corny added. But remember, they are part of the trade union. Even though they are aligned with the separatists, they are still one of the galaxy's largest corporate giants. Ordinary incentives won't sway them. This might be even harder than buying off Masameda, Lynchhauser cautioned. I think we can set up a scheme and offer them the planet Vandalhelm, Corny suggested. Do you realize what you're proposing? Although Vandalhelm used to be under the 18th Army, it now belongs to our 17th Army. That planet has shipbuilding docks and rich mineral resources. The Vandalhelm galaxy even has an asteroid belt full of metal mines. That planet is our treasure trove. Lynchhauser was furious. And you should know that handing over Republic territory to others is tantamount to betraying your country. Chapter 1515. Carve Up. Lynchhauser was shocked by Admiral Corny's words, breaking into a cold sweat. He had no idea that this admiral would be so audacious. Corny actually wanted to trade the territory of the Galactic Republic with the Trade Federation. Even now, the Trade Federation still had representatives in the Galactic Republic Congress, though they had been completely labeled as separatist forces. The main reason their representative seats had not been removed was that the Trade Federation still had a large number of industries and businesses within the jurisdiction of the Galactic Republic. Under such circumstances, Admiral Corny's plan was to make a deal with the Trade Federation on the surface, but in reality, it was no different from sending their resource centers directly to the enemy. This is the only way for us to get through this disaster. Corny declared loudly. Don't naively think that we can impress the leaders of the trade union with just our property. Wake up. At this point, all we want is self-preservation. Lynchhauser's face was clouded with indecision. After a long pause, he finally said, Okay, we can try to contact Lot Dodd, but don't contact Newt Gunray. That guy won't appear on the Republic side at all. He's an out-and-out separatist. On the contrary, Lot Dodd stays in the Parliament all year round, and there is still some possibility of communication. You make the connection, and then the two of us will talk to him together when the time comes, Admiral Corny said. As long as we can avoid a large-scale fleet battle in the Anako Galaxy, the Trade Federation's base won't be too affected. If he can cause a lot of damage and still get a mining planet for nothing, I believe a businessman like him will make the most suitable choice. Lynchhauser nodded sullenly. At this time, Tang Xiao was on the capital of the Confederation of Independent Systems, the subplanet of Raxus. He was meeting with Count Dooku to discuss the next combat policy and plan of the Confederation of Independent Systems. In fact, the declaration they issued in unanimous agreement on supporting the Jedi Order was also a joint action after discussion. So I really think that there must be many Jedi Knights who can escape from Order 66 and fall into the dark side during such a betrayal, Count Dooku said, stroking his snow-white beard. There is no doubt these people will be our allies. Tang Xiao nodded and said, however, we must be on our guard. Some of them may have strong strength and will. After such tempering, they will only become stronger, and their light will not be shaken. I agree with your previous opinion, Lord Dead Angel. The light side may also be our ally, and our only enemy is actually the Jedi Order, Count Dooku said with satisfaction. Jedi Knights who have fallen into the dark side succumb to their own emotions and desires. They will choose the powerful Galactic Republic over us. But now it seems that Palpatine is obviously very annoyed by our actions. Even if he orders the Republic Army to attack again, under the current circumstances, their attack strength will be much reduced. We can seize the time to continue reducing the Republic's military strength. Actually, I am now more inclined to think that Palpatine's current anger is a posturing, a political show, Count Dooku said. It is impossible to get all the benefits from someone like him. In fact, all we can do now is get what we want. He gets the cards he wants, and we get some escaped Jedi Knights. Tang Xiao nodded with a serious face. In fact, it was within his expectation that such a situation would happen. Because Order 66 was launched nearly a year earlier, and it happened to be at the stage when Kamino clone soldiers were eliminated by genetic weapons, and spotty clone soldiers had just begun to be used. If the spotty clone soldiers hadn't been deployed yet, Palpatine would likely have chosen to wait until the timing was more favorable before launching Order 66. Even so, launching Order 66 at this moment is far less effective compared to the original plot. Firstly, because the spotty clone soldiers were fast-tracked, their combat capabilities are significantly inferior to those of the Kamino clones, making them much less of a threat to the Jedi Knights. Secondly, since they have only just begun to be deployed, they haven't yet become the backbone of the army. This means that, unlike in the original plot, the spotty clones are not launching a comprehensive counterattack from multiple directions, reducing the element of surprise considerably. According to Tang Xiao's current estimate, at least 1/3 of the Jedi Knights survived Order 66. This is a vast improvement compared to the near extinction of the Jedi in the original plot. As he had previously told Count Dooku, their true and undying enemy was the Jedi Order itself, not the individual Jedi Knights. With the destruction of the Jedi Order, those Jedi Knights who lost their positions would harbor much less hostility towards him and Count Dooku. In this scenario, Darth Sidious would absorb a wave of hatred. With such a foundation, after the destruction of the Jedi Order, Tang Xiao could look forward to those surviving Jedi Knights joining the Fourth Civilization. He has also arranged for intelligence agencies in various locations to be ready to assist those Jedi Knights in escaping the jurisdiction of the Galactic Republic at any time. However, even with the Holy Spirit Academy and the Holy Spirit sect openly present, Tang Xiao knew that his side was far less attractive to Jedi Knights than Count Dooku. After all, Dooku was once a Jedi Knight and held a position of high regard among them, a status that the Fourth Civilization and other fallen angels could not easily match. By the way, speaking of this, Lord Dead Angel, I am still very interested in the Book of Sith in your possession. Is this book the inheritance of the Sith? Count Dooku suddenly asked. The Book of Sith itself holds no power, but it is a ritual and symbol of the way of the Sith. Being recognized by the Book of Sith does not directly make one stronger, but it undoubtedly brings one closer to the way of the Sith, Tang Xiao replied, glancing at him. But now, you should not have much interest in becoming a Sith Lord, Count Dooku. Chapter 16, Whistleblower. I've figured it out. Whether I become a Sith or not has nothing to do with my research on the dark side. After witnessing the struggle between you and Darth Sidious, I am indeed more inclined to think that I should not get involved in Sith matters. Count Dooku said with a smile. Then why do you need to ask about the Book of Sith? Tang Xiao sneered. This old fox, after seeing the potential defections of many Jedi Knights to his side, was clearly planning something. In addition to the group of dark Jedi warriors he had already recruited, including experienced elders like Sola Balk and young geniuses like Asajj Ventress, he had more than enough resources to establish his own sect. In this way, he really did not need to rely on others, be it Darth Sidious or the Death Angel, as a teacher and record his name in the Book of Sith. Don't you find it strange? If the Book of Sith is just a book, how can it be recognized by the way of the Sith if the book is recorded in it? What role does the Force play in this process? Count Dooku said with a smile. Don't you think this process is full of mystery? Maybe we can discuss together the essence of the Force. This guy is testing me, Tang Xiao realized. After confirming that he was the Death Angel and Darth Malthael, the once mysterious and powerful veil gradually faded away, and Count Dooku began to have some curiosity about this very young Sith Lord. He wanted to know how this young Sith Lord could stand up to him and someone like Darth Sidious, who had studied the Force all his life. Count Dooku brought up this topic now to test the depth of the Death Angel, so as to adjust his future response. On the one hand, the demise of the Jedi Order allowed Count Dooku to foresee obtaining a group of dark Jedi Knights, which were even more powerful. On the other hand, the two people with equal identities probably wouldn't have an affiliation relationship in the future. In other words, the separation of Dawnstar from the Confederation of Independent Galaxies was already a certainty. In this way, Count Dooku needed to consider them as a potential competitor and enemy. Where do you think the soul will go after death? Tang Xiao asked suddenly. If it wasn't for the cultivation of unique Force skills, or if the Force was strong enough to keep the soul alive, then the soul would dissipate after death, Count Dooku replied. But not now. The smile on Tang Xiao's face began to become a little eerie. From the day I returned from planet Korriban, after death, the soul belongs to me. Count Dooku's face turned serious. And this is also the answer you want about the Book of Sith. Tang Xiao's expression suddenly became sunny again, making it difficult to understand his inner thoughts. After saying that, Tang Xiao didn't want to say anything more to Count Dooku, so he turned and left. Only Count Dooku stood there thoughtfully, without moving for a long time. As Tang Xiao was flying towards his mansion on the Laxus subplanet in his private shuttle, he received an unexpected communication. Tang Xiao frowned. The communicator showed Lot Dodd, the representative of the Trade Federation in the Coruscant Galactic Council, who could also be regarded as the second in command of the Trade Federation in a sense. But he usually didn't have any dealings with Lot Dodd, and often went directly to Governor Newt Gunray for trade union matters. The communication was connected, and the holographic projection of Lot Dodd appeared in front of him. He saluted very respectfully and said, Governor Tang, I have a very important message to report. Oh, tell me, Tang Xiao replied lightly. The 17th Army of the Galactic Republic hopes that our Titan battleship Xuanwu will withdraw from the Inako galaxy. Lot Dodd nodded and bowed as he spoke, and when talking about the Titan battleship Xuanwu, he also used the word we, hoping to draw closer the relationship between himself and Tang Xiao through these small gestures. A mocking look appeared on Tang Xiao's face. Heh, intérêt, sting. Was it Lynchhauser or Admiral Corney who contacted you? He asked. The Titan battleship Xuanwu's initiative to attack had been his request to Ling Liang, so he was already aware of the action plan. Naturally, Tang Xiao knew the predicament facing the main fleet of the Republic's 17th Army. It was both of them who came to negotiate with me, Lot Dude replied. They said they were willing to let us operate the Xuanwu in some appropriate way, in exchange for the planet Vanderheim and the departure of the Titan battleship from the planet Inako. Tang Xiao was slightly moved. They actually ceded to us the most valuable planetary secrets that the 17th Army received with great difficulty from the remnants of the 18th Army. It seems the situation they encountered is quite severe. Speaker Palpatine asked them to take the initiative to attack, Lot Dude added. Ha! Take the initiative to attack? Starting from the planet Naboo to attack the planet Inako. Are they looking for death? Tang Xiao laughed incredulously. That's why they proposed this condition. They likely want to force the Titan battleship Xuanwu back, and then come to Palpatine to negotiate, Lot Dude explained. Tang Xiao waved his hand dismissively, then suddenly changed the subject. Actually, compared to those two wretches of the 17th Army, I'm more concerned that you didn't hide this matter. Vanderheim has a shipbuilding industry and valuable resources. The value of such a rich planet is considerable, right? Lot Dude hurriedly responded, My Lord Governor, what is a mere Vanderheim compared to your strength and wisdom? Such a planet is child's play. My loyalty to you will never change. Tang Xiao smiled coldly. It seemed that under the influence of Newt Gunley, the trade union had indeed become more obedient. He had used both kindness and power through the Freemasonry alliance, and finally achieved good results. Very well, I have received your loyalty, Tang Xiao said lightly. I think I can pretend to agree, and then take the opportunity to attract the main fleet of the 17th Army and destroy them all. Lot Dude said with a sinister smile. With the Xuanwu, the main fleet of the 17th Army must come and go, but how to make them take the initiative to attack depends on your ability, Lot Dude, Tang Xiao said. If things can be done, then Vanderheim is yours. Lot Dude was overjoyed and quickly said, My Lord Governor, oh no, my lord, everything will be as you wish. Thanks to 213ager for the 520 starting coins. Chapter 5017, Traps. At the same time, in the capital of the Fourth Civilization, Siswena Star Area, on the planet Eliadu, in the capital city of Elixiang. General Ling, according to your request, we have continued to monitor the hyperspace fluctuations around the planet Naboo and have not detected any abnormalities. This indicates that the main fleet of the 17th Army of the Republic is still stationed on Naboo and has no intention of leaving. An intelligence officer reported. Ling Liang waved her hand, signaling him to step back. She then entered a long series of numbers into the terminal in front of her, performed a series of calculations, and frowned. Deploy additional troops to the Inako Galaxy immediately. I will lead this mission personally, she declared. General, are you going to the battlefield yourself? The adjutant asked, surprised. Isn't it just a stalemate? Do you really need to go in person? Not for long. According to zero-mode probability calculations, the main fleet of the 17th Army of the Galactic Republic is likely to launch an active attack within 3 days, Ling Liang replied calmly. An active attack? Are they out of their minds? The adjutant couldn't comprehend Ling Liang's judgment. Even through logical inference, we can reach a similar conclusion, though not as precisely, Ling Liang explained. After we issued a statement of support for the Jedi Order, the Galactic Republic immediately responded on several fronts. However, within the sphere of influence of our fourth civilization, there has been no movement. This is the first point. She raised 2 more fingers and continued. Second, although our strategy successfully pinned down their main fleet, it is not unbreakable. The Republic fleet only needs to separate its main fleet into smaller groups. We would then have no choice but to withdraw from Naboo. So, as long as they are willing to spend some more time, they can still gather a large number of fleets to return to the planet Kira and increase their forces in that direction. What does the addition of troops to the Yagodur Galaxy have to do with our direction? Doesn't this mean they want to attack the Yagodur Galaxy? The adjutant asked. After increasing their troops, the battleships need to be reorganized, personnel need rest, and equipment needs maintenance. So, while this is indeed a precursor to an attack, it won't happen immediately, Ling Long explained. And the Republic fleet on Naboo hasn't taken those actions because they are no longer needed. That means they will attack soon. So there is no need to increase the number of troops and disrupt the original establishment, the adjutant suddenly realized. Get ready to go, Ling Long said, taking her military cap from the orderly and putting it on. She then walked towards the exit of the bridge. Suddenly, a communications soldier approached and said loudly, General Ling, Dawn Star Telegram, there is confirmed news that the main fleet of the 17th Army of the Republic will launch an active attack in the near future, targeting the Inako Galaxy. Chief of Staff Chi Jian and Navy Commander-in-Chief Matt Horner are waiting in the virtual conference room. The corners of Ling Liang's mouth turned up slightly. Oh, it seems our intelligence department is also extremely capable. Meanwhile, on the periphery of the Zhes planet, aboard the flagship of the guerrilla fleet of the Sesvena sector of the Fourth Civilization, the Hell's Angel-class battlecruiser Long River, Rear Admiral Malcolm Granger was studying the next steps in front of the holographic star map. After examining the star map for a while, he turned to the staff officer beside him. "How is Pax Planet?" The staff officer quickly replied, "According to the report from the reconnaissance drone, the Galactic Republic still has a large number of salvage ships at the edge of Pax Planet. Galaxy, salvaging the wreckage of the battleship where we fought last time. They are quite courageous, knowing that we have already captured planet Zehe SS, yet they are still stuck on planet Pax." Major General Granger frowned. "It is estimated that the purification-level stealth special service ship shocked them too much," the staff officer said. "And on planet Pax, they also deployed an escort fleet. It's a desperate effort to get something back," Malcolm Granger sneered. "Let them do what they want. When you're ready, we'll attack planet Pax. Then, we'll take a walk around planet Kira. I just want to see if their main fleet can stay so securely on planet Naboo." At this moment, a communications soldier approached quickly and said in a low voice, "General Granger, there is a secret message from headquarters." Malcolm Granger nodded and immediately went to the conference room on the side of the bridge, where Ling Liang's holographic projection had already appeared in the center of the room. Seeing Granger enter, Ling Liang got straight to the point. "Give up all current combat operations of the guerrilla fleet and immediately move to planet Eniko to prepare for reinforcement operations." "Going to planet Eniko? Don't tell me the 17th Army has any illogical ideas and is planning to take the initiative to attack." Malcolm Granger shrugged and spread his hands. "You're right," Ling Liang confirmed. "Damn it. We were still planning to harass and force their main fleet to take action. For this reason, I even specially formulated a second raid on planet Kira, but they actually sent it to their door?" Malcolm Granger cursed. He had been counting on the planned second raid on planet Kira to earn a promotion to lieutenant general. Unlike the Galactic Republic, where admirals are abundant, the Fourth Civilization is much more cautious with military ranks. Even an accomplished general like Malcolm Granger would start as a major general after joining the Navy and would only be promoted to lieutenant general after completing inspections and achieving significant military exploits. In the Fourth Civilization, a lieutenant general or above is qualified to lead an entire fleet independently. The situation has indeed changed. I have sent you the battle plan. Don't worry, it won't affect your promotion, Ling Liang assured. Major General Granger looked at the document she sent over, but his expression gradually turned serious. "Do you want me to choose between the coffin and the lieutenant general, General Ling? After all, the main fleet of the 17th Army is formidable. I don't want to fight a battle where we injure 1,000 enemies but suffer 800 casualties ourselves. Therefore, more preparations must be made. The 3 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts of the 17th Army are a significant threat. If we don't work hard, the Xuanwu will not pass through unscathed," Ling Liang explained. "I see," Malcolm Granger said, giving a military salute. "Dude, the insatiable bastard. He actually wants us to hand over planet Vanderheim first," Admiral Corney cursed. From his standpoint, he is naturally worried that we will renege on our debts afterward. The governor of the 17th Army, Lynchhauser, said, touching his goatee. "But what I am more concerned about is whether the plan he proposed is feasible." Chapter 15-18, Battle of Eniko 1. Admiral Corney took a deep breath and flipped through the documents in front of him. "Well, launching an orbital bombardment on the planet Eniko, the Trade Federation can use this as an excuse to choke the Xuanwu ship's supply lines. You must know that the daily supplies and fuel consumed by the Xuanwu Titan battleship are enormous. This could force the Xuanwu to leave." "Don't you think it's a bit of a joke?" Lynchhauser interjected. "It's not child's play," Admiral Corney replied. "We are planning to launch an orbital bombardment on the heavily guarded planet Eniko. Even with a well-thought-out plan, we may lose at least 10 capital ships. According to the plan, we will launch the attack first. At that time, the Trade Federation will put pressure on the Xuanwu, demanding that it prioritize the protection of their industries on the planet. This will create defense loopholes, giving us the opportunity for orbital bombardment. Admiral Corney continued, after the orbital bombardment, the Trade Federation will send a large number of transport ships to the vicinity of the planet under the pretext of rescuing civilians and industries. This will create hyperspace fluctuations, making the shipping lanes crowded and unable to deliver military supplies in time. At least, I think this plan is feasible. In this planning process, there are too few factors we can control, Lynchhauser said. What if Lot Dude suddenly changes his mind? Do we have the ability to counter it? By then, our fleet will have already entered the Anako system, and we won't be able to retreat even if we want to. But he asked our 3 Commander 2 class dreadnoughts not to enter the Anako system initially. If he intended to betray us, he would have asked for the 3 Commander 2 class dreadnoughts to enter Anako first and then be destroyed without support, Admiral Corney explained. And we have evidence of our meeting with Lot Dud. If we make that evidence public, I promise he won't make it out of Coruscant alive. Seeing that Lynchhauser was still hesitant, Admiral Corney pressed on. There is no time to hesitate. This is all we can do. Speaker Palpatine's instructions for us to launch attacks are becoming more frequent. He is losing his patience. We must do everything we can and leave the rest to fate. Lynchhauser raised his eyebrows. I'd rather believe in the Force, but it's useless to say this now. All Jedi Knights are traitors. He paused, his expression finally becoming firm. Then let's start. Inform the first task force. Let's go. Several spaceships from the Trade Federation quietly arrived at the planet Vanderheim from another direction and secretly coordinated with the 17th Army. They were waiting for the battle on the other side to break out so that the Trade Federation could justifiably claim the planet. The representative of the trade union, Lot Dowd, was very satisfied with this arrangement. Following the order of the governor of the 17th Army, Lynchhauser, on May 34th, the first task force of the main fleet of the 17th Army departed from the spaceport of the planet Naboo, entered the hyperspace channel, and headed straight for the planet Anako. The Battle of Anako had begun. The first task force of the 17th Army included 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers, 20 Jaeger-class battlecruisers, 20 Arca-Tense-class light cruisers, 20 DP-20 anti-aircraft gunboats, and 50 CR-70 frigates. This was already a very large force. At the same time, it was also the optimal number of warships that could pass through the hyperspace channel between the planet Naboo and the planet Anako at one time, neither causing hyperspace fluctuations that would affect subsequent navigation, nor being too small to threaten the Anako system, where the Titan battleship Xuanwu was stationed. After the first task force arrived at the planet Anako, they found the separatist Titan battleship Xuanwu was deploying defenses around the outer spaceport of planet Anako. Anako is the cargo distribution center of the Trade Federation, boasting a very large spaceport. However, this civilian loading and unloading spaceport lacks deflector shields. Due to its immense size, it is divided into several loading and unloading areas, each requiring complete storage and logistics facilities, making the structure quite fragile. General Corney's plan was to first raid the trade union spaceport to attract the attention of the Titan battleship Xuanwu. Following this, reinforcements would seize the opportunity to carry out orbital bombardment on the planet. The target for the orbital bombardment had already been selected, a large warehouse of the Trade Federation which stored a significant amount of supplies. According to Lot Dude, only by causing such a substantial loss could they proceed with their next action. At this moment, the massive Ankron-class Titan battleship Xuanwu, shaped like a was stationed in front of the trade union spaceport. Accompanying it were 4 Soa-class aircraft carriers, 12 Cole-class battlecruisers, 5 Duno-class battlecruisers, and a formation of 10 Apocalypse-class light cruisers. Through the sensor screen, Caballo, the commander of the first task force of the 17th Army of the Republic, observed the enormous Titan battleship, which gleamed under the starlight. A drop of cold sweat trickled down his face. Before him was the super battleship that had made the entire Galactic Republic tremble, the Xuanwu. Caballo knew very well that with his current strength, it was impossible to inflict any damage on the Separatist fleet supported by the Titan battleship Xuanwu. But he had to press on. His fleet, aptly named the Task Force, was essentially cannon fodder. Yet, due to his loyalty to the Galactic Republic, Caballo resolutely led his troops forward. Loyalty, in this Galactic Republic, was not in short supply. Avoid the opponent's Titan battleship and attack the trade union's spaceport, Caballo ordered. The Republic Task Force began to advance, firing heavy turbolaser cannons at maximum range. The Titan battleship Xuanwu immediately responded, moving forward and emitting a burst of red light from both sides of its hull. Under the effect of the group shield, the shield of the entire Fourth Civilization fleet was enhanced. With such solid defense, it was impossible for the Republic fleet to damage the warships. But this time, the task force's target was the spaceport. Boom, boom, boom. As several heavy turbolaser cannons hit, a loading and unloading area in the spaceport began to disintegrate in the explosion. Enraged by this attack, the Titan battleship Xuanwu charged forward at full power. Chapter 1519, Battle of Eneco 23. Fire! 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 Republic Task Force Commander Caballo roared loudly. The 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers unleashed their full firepower. Each Star Destroyer was equipped with 60 double-mounted XX-9 heavy turbolaser cannons, totaling 600 cannons. In comparison, a Jaeger-class battlecruiser had only 8 dual-mounted main guns, making one Knight-class Star Destroyer equivalent to the firepower of 8 Jaeger-class ships. When 600 heavy-duty turbolaser cannons fired in a salvo, the power was simply devastating. The traditional concept of heaven and earth, meaning the planet's atmosphere and surface rock and soil layers, could not withstand this level of bombardment. However, when this firepower fell on the Titan battleship Xuanwu, it disappeared without a trace, like a mud cow entering the sea. A faint green light radiated around the Titan battleship Xuanwu. When the turbolaser cannon blasts passed through this light, the energy was directly neutralized significantly. The remaining energy fell on the deflector shield of the battleship like a tickle, failing even to create ripples. Bastard! Caballo was sweating profusely, clenching his fists tightly. He knew that even with 5 of the latest Knight-class Star Destroyers of the Republic, his fleet was no match for the Xuanwu. Compared to the previous battle in the Eliadu Galaxy, the current commander of the Republic fleet had long since given up all illusions after extensive simulation and research. Without an absolute superior force, it was impossible to shake the Xuanwu. They had no illusions about taking advantage of the Xuanwu. But now, Caballo had to bite the bullet and let his fleet engage the Xuanwu head-on. The 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers continued firing wildly, with countless explosions on the Xuanwu's shield, but the opponent remained motionless. "Launch the fighters," Caballo ordered. The Jaeger-class battlecruisers, already fully equipped, immediately unfolded their hangar platforms, and a large number of fighters took off in dense formations. However, the hulls on both sides of the Xuanwu emitted a dazzling red light once again, and the electronic and energy equipment of almost all warships in the Republic fleet were simultaneously interfered with. Not only that, but the shells of those fighters also began to erode. "It's the destruction matrix. Have the fighter formations disperse immediately," Caballo shouted. The destruction matrix was a very powerful electromagnetic interference field. It could interfere with the electronic systems of enemy warships, reduce energy output and weapon charging efficiency, and cause the armor of enemy ships to be continuously eroded and damaged. While battleships like the Knight class or the Hunter class could withstand it for a while, fighters could not sustain themselves for long under this interference field and would be destroyed. The Xuanwu was such a terrifying battleship. Not only could it make itself indestructible, but it could also prevent its opponents from using their strongest firepower. Under these conditions, the Xuanwu became nearly impossible to shake. The capital ships continued to attack the Xuanwu. All other warships, disperse. Attack the trade union's spaceport. Caballo issued orders according to the battle plan. If the Xuanwu had any weaknesses, it was that the range covered by its terrifying combat systems was not too wide, at least compared to the tens of thousands of kilometers of battlefields of two large-scale fleets. In other words, the effective range of the Xuanwu could only cover a small part of the battlefield. Therefore, one of the solutions proposed by the Republic's Military Research Department was to conduct large-scale detours using fast, highly mobile warships. At this moment, General Caballo utilized his 5 Knight-class Star Destroyers to execute this strategy. The battlefield was illuminated by the arrival of reinforcements. The 2 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts, each an imposing 8,000 meters in length, emerged from hyperspace, their massive forms casting long shadows over the conflict below. Accompanying them were an additional 10 Jaeger-class battlecruisers, their sleek designs a stark contrast to the bulkier dreadnoughts. The arrival of these reinforcements was a turning point. The Xuanwu battle group, which had been pressing its advantage, now found itself facing a formidable counterattack. The new dreadnoughts opened fire with their heavy turbolasers, their beams slicing through the void and striking the Xuanwu's ships with devastating precision. Caballo, the commander of the Fourth Civilization forces, seized the opportunity. "All units, focus fire on the Xuanwu's flagship," he ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. The combined firepower of the newly arrived dreadnoughts and the remaining Jaeger-class battlecruisers began to take its toll on the Xuanwu's flagship, its shields flickering under the sustained assault. Meanwhile, the smaller ships of the Fourth Civilization continued their harassment of the Trade Federation's spaceports. The Artanis-class light cruisers and fighter squadrons darted in and out, their attacks relentless. The spaceports, unable to withstand the bombardment, were reduced to smoldering wrecks. Neimoidian transport ships, attempting to flee, were picked off one by the Republic's fighter pilots, their red-eyed determination ensuring no escape. The Neimoidian executive, his face pale and drawn, reappeared on the communication screen. "Please, we surrender. We will shut down all near-fire and orbital defense systems immediately," he pleaded. Caballo's expression remained stern. "And the planetary shield?" he demanded. The Neimoidian hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "We will begin the shutdown process. It will take some time." "Do it quickly," Caballo ordered. "Any delay will be seen as continued resistance." As the Neimoidians scrambled to comply, the Xuanwu's flagship finally succumbed to the concentrated fire. Its shields failed, and the hull was breached in multiple places. Explosions rippled along its length, and it began to break apart, debris scattering into space. With the flagship destroyed and the planetary defenses being deactivated, the tide of battle turned decisively in favor of the Fourth Civilization. Caballo allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "All units, prepare for planetary assault. We will secure the surface and ensure complete control." The battle in space was drawing to a close, but the fight for the planet was just beginning. The Fourth Civilization's forces, bolstered by their victory, readied themselves for the next phase of the campaign. The Trade Federation's surrender had been secured, but the true test of their resolve was yet to come. Upon exiting hyperspace, the powerful main guns of the 2 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts fired at the Titan battleship Xuanwu. Simultaneously, the newly arrived Jaeger-class battlecruisers launched additional fighters. They seized the opportunity as the Xuanwu's destruction matrix system had to stop due to overheating and began its cooling cycle. This allowed the Republic's fighter group to act without restraint. Without the destruction matrix, which could erode through the shell of a fighter in 10 minutes, the Republic's fighters could finally make an impact. They swarmed like locusts, engaging fiercely with the Separatist fighters and launching all their proton torpedoes. Admiral Corney observed the battle coldly from one of the Commander 2-class dreadnoughts. He knew better than to assume they had the upper hand. Despite the heavy losses they had incurred since the battle began, the Xuanwu and the Cole-class battlecruisers, under its protection, had sustained minimal damage. The battle had raged for over an hour, and only 7 Cole-class ships had suffered varying degrees of damage. These ships were retreating to the rear of the formation for repairs by the Xingzi-class maintenance drone Mothership. According to the Republic's Supreme Strategic Command, there were only 2 ways to defeat the Titan battleship Xuanwu. The first was to use a large number of high-speed warships to conduct flanking maneuvers, bypassing the Xuanwu's coverage to strike other parts of the battlefield. The second was to use superior forces or another super warship to inflict irreversible damage on the Xuanwu and its battle group in a short period, securing victory swiftly. If victory was not achieved within an hour of the battle's start, the situation would only deteriorate. Unfortunately, due to the poor hyperspace channel conditions between the planets Naboo and Eniko, Admiral Corny was forced to adopt a piecemeal attack strategy against the Xuanwu. This was exactly what the Xuanwu's commander preferred. Often, commanders are aware of the disadvantages of such tactics, but are compelled to use them due to logistical constraints. Admiral Corny found himself in this very predicament, unable to concentrate his forces to besiege the Xuanwu effectively. As a result, his attacks were ineffective. Continue attacking the Xuanwu, do not allow it to reinforce the planet Eniko. Other warships, keep bombing the Trade Alliance's spaceport and planetary shield, Admiral Corny ordered. Notify General Caballo to temporarily retreat and rest. Yes, sir. The new forces joined the fray, allowing General Caballo's task force to retreat after suffering heavy losses. The Republic fleet began to redeploy, centering around the two Commander II-class dreadnoughts, and continued their engagement with the Xuanwu. Is Lot Dude still holding up? Admiral Corny asked, maintaining contact with Governor Lynch Hauser. He said the managers on Enako are wavering. With more pressure, he believes they will surrender, Lynch Hauser replied, his voice tense. Corny nodded and turned to his crew. Send a clear message to the planet Enako. Order them to lay down their weapons, lower the planetary shield, and declare neutrality. We promise to respect their neutrality and refrain from any military operations on Enako. If they refuse, our fleet will not hesitate to destroy the planet. Yes, sir. The communicator immediately relayed the message. There was no response from planet Enako. Lot Dude said that the pressure we put on them isn't enough. Planet Enako still believes that the Xuanwu can protect them, Lynch Hauser said. There's no other way. We have to go all the way, Corny replied, nodding sullenly. The two Commander II-class dreadnoughts began to turn around, facing the firepower of the Titan battleship Xuanwu. They flew towards planet Enako, and their powerful main guns no longer targeted the Xuanwu. Instead, they aimed at planet Enako and began bombarding it. During this process, the Xuanwu and its battle group couldn't just stand by. They unleashed their most powerful firepower in retaliation. Boom! 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 The Commander II's main cannons bombarded the planetary shield, creating intense ripples. The shield on planet Eniko was not designed for high-power attacks. It was mainly used to defend against pirates. Under the assault of the two dreadnoughts, it seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Boom! 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 Lasers and missiles continued to rain down on the battleship, causing dull explosions and violent vibrations. Admiral Corny stared at the projection of the holographic star map, gritting his teeth. This should be enough, he said. General, we have another communication from Eniko, a communications soldier shouted. Admiral Corny felt a weight lift off his chest. Put it through, he ordered. The Neimoidian wearing a tall hat reappeared in the holographic projection. He placed his hands on his chest in a Neimoidian-specific posture, looking extremely cowardly. I am the director of planet Enako. The Neimoidian looked terrified. I am sincerely afraid, and I want to say. Suddenly, his expression changed to a mocking sneer. Planet Enako will never compromise with a group of dying people. As soon as he finished speaking, a shrill scream came from the radar department. General, a short Ant's hyperspace jump has been detected in the galaxy. Chapter 1520, Battle of Eniko 4. Without giving the Republic fleet any time to react, 30 capital ships had already entered the battlefield. However, these 30 battleships did not enter the battlefield at the same location. First, 15 Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers jumped directly to the area closest to the battlefield and immediately flew towards the Titan battleship Xuanwu. Following them, 5 Dunov-class battlecruisers jumped to a slightly more distant location, forming the second echelon alongside the Cole-class battlecruisers. Finally, 10 Disaster-class battlecruisers entered the fray at a distance of 5 light minutes from the main battlefield. This distance was ideal for particle light spears. Within 5 minutes, large capital ships of the opponent often had no time to execute significant tactical maneuvers, and smaller evasive actions could be entirely managed by advanced fire control AI. At this range, the particle lance could still maintain a high hit rate. More importantly, the XX-9 heavy-duty turbolaser cannon equipped on the Knight and Hunter classes had an effective range of 10 light minutes. However, as a sub-light speed weapon, its hit rate significantly dropped beyond 5 light minutes. The disaster-class radar could easily detect the direction of incoming fire and initiate evasive maneuvers. Moreover, it was nearly impossible for the opponent's fighter jets to break away from their battle formation and attack from such a distance. Without the cover of large warships, the fighter jet groups could be easily shot down by countermeasures. Up to now, the Galactic Republic still didn't understand why their fighter group had been suddenly slowed down and shot down in large numbers during the last encounter in the Pax Galaxy. Although the fleet of the Fourth Civilization was not large, it was deadly. In just 10 minutes, it had formed a very layered formation, creating an insurmountable barrier in front of the Republic fleet. On the other hand, Admiral Corney of the 17th Army, who realized he had been deceived, was not furious. They had considered the possibility of failure when they made such a deal with the Trade Federation. He looked coldly at Lot Dude in the holographic projection and said, "We are the 17th Army of the Republic. Who gave you the guts to lie to us?" He wasn't exaggerating. After all, the 17th Army of the Republic had been strengthened many times, and its fleet strength could indeed rank among the top in the galaxy. The 17th Army? Maybe it will soon become the 5th Army of the Republic to be destroyed. Do as you will, Lot Dude replied dismissively, shutting down the communication after leaving that remark. Deploy all our intelligence department agents. Regardless of the outcome of our main fleet, I will ensure this old guy doesn't see the sun tomorrow, Admiral Corney said angrily. Finally, there is no other way. Lynchhauser muttered, extremely annoyed. Then we have no choice. Let's fight head-on, Admiral Corney declared loudly. Not all the main fleet of the separatist Siswena sector has arrived. We still have a chance to fight the Xuanwu. Inform every ship to regroup. Fight to the death with the separatists. As they spoke, 5 more Jaeger-class battlecruisers arrived on the battlefield from the planet Naboo, accompanied by 20 DP-20 gunboats. The reinforcements of the 17th Army were still arriving. The total force at his disposal was more than 5 times that of the separatists. This was Admiral Corney's greatest strength. The main fleet of the 17th Army began to adjust its formation, rearranging with 2 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts as the core. Although Admiral Corney was corrupt, he was a frontline general who had graduated from the Republic Naval Academy and still possessed considerable abilities. Even though he had sent his main warship to bomb the planet Eniko, the formation, the fleet was still in order. Admiral Corney commanded 2 Commander 2-class dreadnoughts, 5 Knight-class star destroyers, and numerous Jaeger-class battlecruisers. He believed he had the absolute strength to defeat the Xuanwu. However, when the Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers entered the battlefield, he witnessed their true combat capabilities for the first time. This made him question whether he could achieve his goal. As the 15 Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers charged into the fray, they turned their ships sideways, unleashing the firepower of their 8 heavy laser cannons. The colorful laser beams struck the Republic battleships, causing their energy shields to flicker violently. Upon receiving a report from the shield team, Admiral Corney realized that the varying colors of the laser beams were due to different frequencies and wavelengths. This was another form of saturation attack. The laser cannons, each with different firing rates, maximum power, and ranges, could adapt their attacks based on the target. This versatility allowed the Hell's Angels to decimate fighter jets even when facing a large group. What astonished Admiral Corney even more was the Hell's Angels' incredible defense. He saw a Commander 2-class dreadnought's main gun penetrate the Xuanwu's group shield, and then the deflector shield of a Hell's Angel. Yet, in the next attack, the Hell's Angels' heavy armor withstood the bombardment. Even though the Commander 2-class dreadnoughts were formidable super battleships, Their main guns couldn't destroy a kilometer-class battleship without deflector shield protection. The heavily damaged Hell's Angel was quickly pulled to the rear of the battlefield by the Xuanwu using a tractor beam. A large number of Xingzi-class maintenance drone motherships swarmed it for emergency repairs. The Dunov-class battlecruiser also remotely replenished the Hell's Angel's shield, ensuring it maintained a certain level of defense and wasn't vulnerable to other Republic warships. These 15 Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers wreaked havoc, preventing the 17th Army's fleet from concentrating its firepower. At this critical moment, the particle light spear launched by the disaster-class battlecruiser, 5 light minutes away, finally arrived. The blinding beam struck the deflector shield of one of the Commander 2 dreadnoughts. As the beam faded, it left a red ray and another spiraling effect, showcasing the devastating power of the particle light spear. Chapter 1521, Battle of Eneco 5. In the vicinity, 15 Hell's Angels have become disruptive forces. In front of them, the Titan battleship Xuanwu stands as an insurmountable wall, bolstered by 5 Dunov-class battlecruisers that continuously replenish its energy shields and enhance its engine power. In the middle distance, Cole-class battlecruisers, also supported by 5 Dunov-class battlecruisers, fire supermaterial electromagnetic guns for fire support. Meanwhile, SOA-class aircraft carriers launch a large number of ghost fighters to provide air defense support. In the distance, the particle light spears of 10 disaster-class battlecruisers act as snipers on the battlefield. These particle light spears have an extremely long range and immense power, making the Republic fleet perpetually unsafe. If a few particle light spears hit a Hunter-class ship, it could be severely damaged or even sunk after a few shots. Even in the contest between the fighter groups of both sides, the Republic's fighter group, usually a source of pride, finds itself at a disadvantage. Due to the presence of the destruction matrix of the Titan battleship Xuanwu, the fighters of the Galactic Republic cannot engage near the Titan battleship for long. They are forced to maneuver around the Xuanwu, attempting to reach the back of the battlefield to attack the Cole-class battlecruisers and SOA-class aircraft carriers. However, the Fourth Civilization fleet has long been prepared for this. Ling Lang's strategic deployment of battleships is designed to counter such maneuvers. Cole-class battlecruisers possess very powerful anti-aircraft firepower. Under their saturated anti-aircraft barrage, it is difficult for Republic fighters to approach and drop bombs. Additionally, a large number of ghost fighters taking off from the SOA-class aircraft carriers pose a significant threat. The Ghost Fighter model of the Fourth Civilization has been developed and upgraded to the G-type, with its combat performance improved by several levels. Although it retains the CFA-17 Ghost Fighter designation, it is vastly different from when it first entered service. The Viking Fighter, which cooperates with the Wraith Fighter, has not rendered the Wraith Fighter obsolete. Instead, they form a complementary combination of light and heavy fighters. Although the Wraith Fighter is already a heavy fighter, the Viking Fighter is even heavier and larger, with more formidable firepower. For light fighters, the Fourth Civilization still employs a large number of Vulture robot fighters and a smaller number of triple robot fighters from the Confederacy of Independent Galaxies. Additionally, backed by the Cargo Distribution Center of the planet Eneco, there is no shortage of supply resources. On this battlefield, a model that was developed very early but rarely used due to its excessive logistical demands has finally made an appearance, the Valkyrie Guided Missile Frigate. This small missile frigate, produced by Tyron Heavy Industries, is about 33 meters long. Its main weapons are 2 cluster missile launchers, capable of forming a massive barrage in front, destroying all targets within its range. It is essentially a miniature version of the Martha-class heavy guided missile cruiser. In the Fourth Civilization Army, the Valkyrie Guided Missile Frigate is classified as a super heavy fighter, but due to the Fourth Civilization's classification system, it is ultimately categorized as a frigate. Unlike the Martha class, which can manufacture its own missiles, the Valkyrie Guided Missile Frigate's attack method relies entirely on logistics. A formation of Valkyrie frigates can deplete an entire warehouse of missiles in a single battle. Consequently, This extravagant spaceship is often reserved for the defense of important planets. The Navy of the Fourth Civilization would never deploy the Valkyrie frigate for offensive operations. This presents a significant challenge for the main fleet of the 17th Army of the Republic. Their primary vessels cannot concentrate their firepower due to the interference from the Hell Angels, and they are unable to breach the defenses of the Titan battleship Xuanwu quickly. The presence of the destruction matrix prevents their fighter group from besieging the Xuanwu for an extended period, forcing them to attack from the rear. However, in that direction, the Fourth Civilization has concentrated all its ships with the strongest anti-aircraft firepower. This is a desperate situation. Admiral Corney had no choice but to continue reinforcing his troops. While the fierce battle raged in the Inako galaxy, Rear Admiral Malcolm Granger of the Fourth Civilization was fuming in another sector. "Ling Liang, that bitch! She actually ordered me to return to planet Inako. This is a complete suicide mission." Granger cursed his superior for the nth time as he stared at the holographic star map. Governor of the Sethwena Star area and General Ling Liang of the Fourth Civilization Army had indeed ordered Malcolm Granger to return to the Inako galaxy from the Zehes planet. This seemingly simple order was complicated by the accompanying combat plan and navigation chart. Ling Liang wanted Major General Granger to travel to the planets Pax and Kira, then to Kalinda, pass by Naboo, and finally return to Eniko. The star map situation is straightforward. Starting from Eniko to Zehes, then Kira, Kalinda, and Naboo, the hyperspace channels of these planets form a circle. So from Zehes to Eniko, you can return the same way, but going from Kira is like going around in reverse. What's worse, Kira and Naboo are strongholds for the fleet of the 17th Army of the Galactic Republic. This is why Malcolm Granger was swearing. However, after reviewing Ling Liang's battle plan, Major General Malcolm Granger had to admit that this crazy plan was indeed feasible. Ling Liang's plan made full use of the characteristics of the hyperspace channels. Currently, the hyperspace channel between the planets involved in this battle is primarily the Inako channel. This channel is not very large, so once the battle breaks out and the main fleet of the 17th Army is fully engaged, the logistics supply will have to keep up. At this point, several sections of the Inako channel will become very crowded. The congested state of the hyperspace channel means that disruptions in hyperspace fluctuations will become more frequent, increasing the risk for spacecraft. Ling Liang's plan was for Rear Admiral Granger to lead his guerrilla fleet and, when the Republic's logistics transport fleet had just passed more than halfway and was about to produce hyperspace fluctuations, to boldly rush in, cut into the Republic's transport fleet, wreak havoc, and then seize the opportunity to pass through the hyperspace waterway. This would cause hyperspace fluctuations from the guerrilla fleet itself, making it impossible for the Republic's pursuers to catch up. This process sounds simple, but requires very sophisticated calculations. Monitoring the fluctuations of the Republic's transport fleet by the hyperspace outpost, predicting the fluctuations of the guerrilla fleet, comparing the combat effectiveness of both sides, and timing the entry into the hyperspace channel, all these factors need precise calculations. Ordinary people couldn't complete this, but Ling Liang did it. Major General Granger's task was to break into the rear of the Republic's fleet and execute this daring plan. The 17th Army of the Republic was to be intercepted at the coordinates provided by Ling Liang. The plan was to destroy the fleet at the specified time and then enter hyperspace to jump to the next designated station promptly. The direction had been set, but the success of the combat operation depended on Major General Granger's ability to execute the plan. If successful, this maneuver would sever the logistical supplies of the 17th Army's main fleet. Chapter 1522, Battle of Eniko. Final. General Malcolm Granger is on his way. The guerrilla fleet of the Fourth Civilization set off from planet Zehes and headed straight for planet Pax, the site where they previously annihilated the 17th Army's interception fleet. The aftermath of that battle still lingered, with numerous salvage and garbage ships scouring the area, meticulously scanning every fragment in hopes of uncovering clues to report to the Republic's Ministry of Intelligence. They sought to understand what transpired during the battle and what new technology the Separatists had employed. Rear Admiral Granger led the guerrilla fleet with fierce determination. As their battleships emerged from hyperspace, the salvage and garbage ships scattered in panic. However, among the guerrilla fleet were disaster-class battlecruisers, formidable vessels that posed a significant threat. The escort fleet of the Galactic Republic stationed there was modest, consisting of only 3 Jaeger-class battlecruisers and a dozen smaller warships. Such a fleet was insufficient to counter the firepower of the guerrilla fleet. The Jaeger-class, once capable of holding its own against Cole-class and Higra-class battlecruisers, had become obsolete with the advent of the Disaster-class and Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers. The Jaeger-class's limitations were evident. It boasted only 8 double-linked XX-9 heavy turbolaser guns, arranged in a layout unsuitable for effective salvos. Its firepower was inadequate, and its large hangars, once an asset, were now a liability as the Fourth Civilization developed more effective countermeasures against fighters. After dispersing the escort fleet, Rear Admiral Granger issued a cold, calculated order to attack the civilian salvage ships. In his view, these ships, though civilian, were aiding the military and thus were legitimate targets. Attacking them with particle light spears was akin to using a 120mm armor-piercing shell on a civilian car. Overkill, but undeniably effective. The ultra-long range of the particle light spears left the civilian ships with no chance to escape. Most were quickly destroyed, while the few that managed to activate their hyperspace engines escaped before the disaster-class battlecruisers could finish them off. Granger then executed his plan. He maneuvered the fleet near the largest piece of wreckage, deployed small detection ships, and planted bombs on select fragments, which detonated shortly after. These fragments were chosen at random, but to the Galactic Republic's intelligence department, it appeared as though the guerrilla fleet was destroying valuable wreckage to cover their tracks. The 17th Army's fleet stationed on planet Kira responded swiftly, dispatching 15 main warships and 60 smaller vessels into the park's galaxy to drive out the guerrilla fleet. However, Rear Admiral Granger paid little heed to the approaching Republic fleet. He monitored his timing and data from the border hyperspace outpost, strategically fighting and retreating. When the transport fleet circulation in the Kira galaxy was about to peak, Granger made his move. He suddenly activated the hyperspace engines and directed the fleet towards the Kira galaxy. Although the guerrilla fleet's actions were abrupt, they were not entirely unexpected, given their history of raiding the Kira galaxy. The Kira galaxy's defenses were robust, and the defense fleet was ready to respond immediately. General Granger executed his strategy with precision. He and his defense fleet maneuvered in circles, using the heavily armored Hell's Angel-class battlecruiser to repeatedly disrupt the formation of the enemy fleet. They then employed the particle light spear equipped on the Disaster-class battlecruiser for precise strikes. The firepower of the 5 Disaster-class ships was formidable, often obliterating a Jaeger-class battlecruiser with a single salvo. Granger avoided prolonged engagements, opting instead for hit-and-run tactics, circling around and striking when the hyperspace channel was particularly busy. In a sudden assault, he scattered one of the transport fleets in the Kira galaxy under the defense fleet's artillery fire. The guerrilla fleet then activated their hyperspace engines with impeccable timing, advancing all the way to the planet Kalinda. When the Kira galaxy's defense fleet attempted to pursue, they were thwarted by their hyperspace navigation computers, which warned that the hyperspace channel had reached saturation and fluctuations had occurred. They had to wait for the fluctuations to subside before continuing their pursuit. Reluctantly, the Republic Defense Fleet could only watch as the guerrilla fleet escaped, unwilling to risk the dangers of hyperspace fluctuations. Kalinda, situated between Naboo and Kira, held little strategic value and served primarily as a cargo transfer station. Unlike the heavily fortified planets of Kira and Naboo, Kalinda lacked defense facilities, not even an orbital defense system. This was a calculated risk, as no one could afford to arm every planet to the teeth. General Malcolm Granger's precise calculations led him to Kalinda, effectively blocking the Republic's defense fleet and preventing immediate pursuit. At that moment, numerous transport ships were near Kalinda, either loading, unloading, or preparing to transfer to Naboo. The guerrilla fleet descended upon Kalinda like wolves in a sheep pen, unleashing a barrage of fire and destroying many transport ships. The remaining ships scattered in all directions. However, the hyperspace channel back to the Kira galaxy began to experience fluctuations, causing more transport ships to head towards Naboo. A few daring ships attempted to return to Kira, exacerbating the hyperspace fluctuations and delaying reinforcements from Kira. The destruction caused by the guerrilla fleet further congested the already troubled Inako channel. The Republic had to halt all transport ship navigation in the Inako galaxy and prepare to dispatch a fleet to eliminate the separatist guerrilla fleet on Kalinda once the hyperspace fluctuations subsided. This decision, however, placed the main fleet of the 17th Army, engaged in fierce combat on Inako, in an even more precarious situation. As the battle between the two fleets entered its second day, the main fleet of the 17th Army continued to press its advantage. Over 3/4 of their warships had moved from Naboo to Inako. Additionally, the 3rd Commander-class dreadnought had arrived at the Inako battlefield, bolstering their forces, at the same time, to wear down the Republic fleet's resources and morale. The 4th Civilization's fleet, with its specialized and synergistic warships, was designed to maximize efficiency and effectiveness in battle. The Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers, with their thick armor and powerful side-mounted main guns, served as the frontline tanks, absorbing damage and drawing enemy fire. The Dunov-class battlecruisers played a crucial support role, replenishing energy and shields for their allies, ensuring that the fleet could sustain prolonged engagements. The Doomsday Battlefield-class battlecruisers, with their ability to neutralize the energy systems of Republic ships, disrupted the enemy's operational capabilities, forcing them to make difficult choices between maintaining shields or firing their weapons. The Cole-class battlecruisers provided medium-range fire support with their hypermatter railguns and offered robust anti-aircraft defenses. The SOA-class aircraft carriers launched fighter jets for mobile reinforcements, primarily focusing on covering their fleet rather than attacking enemy ships. The Disaster-class battlecruisers, equipped with powerful particle light spears, bombarded the Republic fleet from long distances, adding to the relentless pressure. At the heart of the 4th Civilization's fleet was the Ankron-class Titan battleship Xuanwu. The Xuanwu's group shield and destruction matrix created an almost invincible field, making the fleet nearly impervious to enemy attacks. The Lantian-class command cruiser, Xingzi-class Mai, Nentenance drone carrier, Javelin-class missile frigate, Brown Bear-class heavy destroyer, and Apocalypse-class light cruiser provided additional support and versatility, making the fleet a well-rounded and formidable force. In contrast, the Galactic Republic's fleet consisted of more generalized warships. The Jaeger-class and Arcatense-class ships were versatile and could perform multiple roles, but lacked the specialization and synergy of the 4th Civilization's fleet. The Knight-class warships focused on artillery, and the DP-20 gunboats specialized in air defense, but the overall fleet composition was less cohesive. Despite having superior numbers, with over 170 capital ships and more than 300 small and medium warships, the Republic's 17th Army struggled against the 4th Civilization's fleet. The Republic's ships were versatile, but lacked the focused power and support systems of their adversaries. The 4th Civilization's fleet, with only 60 capital ships and fewer than 150 small and medium warships, managed to hold its ground and even gain the upper hand through superior tactics and coordination. The battle over planet Inako became a war of attrition, with both fleets engaging in a prolonged standoff. Ling Liang's strategy was to delay and exhaust the Republic fleet, leveraging the specialized capabilities of the 4th Civilization's warships to outmaneuver and outlast their opponents. As the conflict dragged on, the Republic fleet found itself increasingly strained, struggling to maintain its operational effectiveness against the relentless and well-coordinated assaults of the 4th Civilization. Admiral Corney, of the 17th Army, initially aimed to buy time, waiting for more of his warships to arrive through the narrow hyperspace channel, thereby forming a larger force. After realizing he had been deceived by Lot Dude, Admiral Corny's strategy shifted to a solid defense. He planned to accumulate enough strength before launching a decisive strike to severely damage the Swanwu in one fell swoop. During this period, in addition to stalling for time, he used his numerical advantage to continue destroying the trade union spaceports outside the Enako galaxy. This increased the difficulty for the opponent's fleet to replenish supplies. Since the battle was on their home turf, he couldn't stop them from having more supplies, but he could target their spaceports, making it harder for supplies to reach their battleships. As more Republic warships entered the Enako galaxy, Admiral Corny's confidence grew. Although he didn't have high hopes for a final victory, he now had a chance to launch a full-scale attack and fight on more equal terms. However, he failed to understand that fairness in warfare is often an illusion. Ling Liang never intended to engage in a fair contest with the main fleet of the 17th Army. When news arrived that the guerrilla fleet had fled to the planet Kalinda, destroyed numerous transport ships, and forced the fleet headquarters on the planet Kira to suspend navigation of the Enako Channel, Admiral Corny was stunned. The Enako waterway is a straightforward hyperspace route with no tributaries. Once this channel is cut off, supply lines are completely severed. This is why the 17th Army did not set their fleet assembly point on the planet Naboo. Despite Naboo's political significance, they chose the planet Kira because the Enako waterway near Naboo was unsuitable for large-scale fleet deployment. Now Admiral Corny was stuck on the planet Enako, with supplies from Naboo nearly depleted after 7 days of standoff with the Titan battleship Xuanwu. His offensive relied heavily on logistics supplies from the planet Kira. He could only hope that the rear would reopen the channel and deliver the necessary supplies. But Ling Liang had no intention of giving him that chance. Following her orders, the Fourth Civilization Fleet, led by the Xuanwu, finally launched an active attack. Chapter 1523, The Weight of Dignity. Victory makes an empire, defeat nothing. History of the Fourth Reich, Chapter 11, 5th subparagraph. Southwest of the Milky Way, Outer Ring, Endor Galaxy, Endor Gas Giant Planet 2 Moon, Dawn Planet. Your Excellency, this is the entire etiquette process. Please read it over, the etiquette supervisor Jarno said respectfully as he handed a pad to Tang Xiao. Upon opening it, a screen projected numerous clauses and instructions. Jarno had previously served as the wedding supervisor when Tang Xiao married Adele Ulan. Tang Xiao had been impressed with her performance on the planet Lundali and decided to retain her as his etiquette supervisor. Now, with Tang Xiao's power growing, maintaining his dignity and keeping a distance from his subordinates was crucial. He was a king, a leader, not a friend or a brother. Leaders who mingled too closely with their subordinates often lost respect and authority. A disrespectful king would not be seen as approachable, but rather as someone who could be easily replaced. Throughout history, whether in the feudal era, the information age, or the interstellar era, maintaining the emperor's majesty through etiquette has always been essential. Tang Xiao understood this well. He had no friends, no relatives, no true love, and no confidence. Perhaps he once did, but as he walked the path of kingship and darkness, those connections had long been severed. Tang Xiao took the pad, reviewed it, and nodded. He then handed it to Adele Ulan, saying, "Take a good look, don't make any mistakes." "As you order, my husband," Adele Ulan replied meticulously, taking the pad and examining it carefully. Her demeanor was respectful, humble, polite, and obedient, but devoid of emotion. A dozen beautiful maids surrounded Adele Ulan, carefully dressing her in a gorgeous golden gown. A lifelike phoenix adorned the dress, its tail feathers forming the skirt, enhancing her already graceful beauty. Tang Xiao looked Adele Ulan up and down, nodding in approval. "Am I pretty?" she asked, noticing his gaze. She lifted the hem of her skirt and twirled gracefully, like a phoenix about to take flight. "Yes," Tang Xiao replied, nodding again. Without further words, he turned and walked out. Outside the door, Francis Underwood, the Prime Minister of the Fourth Civilization, and Helmut Zemo, the Chief Minister of the Cabinet, stood waiting. Adele Ulan's eyes showed disappointment, but as she looked down at her gorgeous dress, her eyes filled with determination. The style of the dress was unfamiliar to her, and she had never seen a bird like the one depicted. According to Jarno, the bird was called a phoenix, a divine creature in the myths and legends of Dawnstar. In the cultural tradition of Dawn Planet, the phoenix, second only to the dragon, symbolized the Mother Heaven. After struggling to understand the meaning of Mother Heaven, Adele Ulan realized that she had achieved what she wanted. For this day, abandoning love was a small price to pay. She was not just a decorative vase. In this meticulously constructed empire, she had found her place. Adele Ulan's gaze sharpened. Your Excellency, Earl Dooku has confirmed that he will personally attend the ceremony on the Dawn Star. I've arranged for the fleet to be stationed in key areas, including the hut space he will pass through. There will also be giant security guards to ensure his protection. There won't be any surprises along the way, Francis Underwood reported. It doesn't matter, Tang Xiao waved dismissively. Isn't it okay for me to run to the Laxus subplanet all day long? Just do what we need to do. I'm just sorry that this time you are not on the throne, but the Grand Duke, Helmut Zemo said, shaking his head in frustration. This is an inevitable result, Tang Xiao replied calmly. The title of Duke Dawn is a cross-galaxy honor, different from those self-proclaimed kings and queens on their own planets. We must consider our relationship with Earl Dooku. After all, our fourth civil eye, Zashin is still a member of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, and we cannot take too big a step. But no matter what, I must give an explanation to the people of the fourth civilization. Hence, Grand Duke Liming is the answer. We will never stop moving forward. Even the throne of a king is not your end, Helmut Zemo said solemnly, bowing to Tang Xiao. For this goal, I am willing to give my everything. Earl Dooku insisted on taking his appointment as the official chairman of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies after our ceremony. This might push us to bear the greatest anger of the Galactic Republic, Francis Underwood added. So, to be the Grand Duke first, and to keep a low profile on the further premise, that's what we have to do, Tang Xiao concluded. Helmut Zemo glanced at his communicator and suddenly said, There is news from the Inako Galaxy. Looks like good news, Francis Underwood remarked. Governor Lingliang's gift to the new Grand Duke Liming will probably be the highlight of the entire ceremony, Zemo laughed. I will help her make the program the best it can be. Tang Xiao glanced at him and said, Compared to the so-called show effect, you should know what I want more. Don't you think the battle in the Inako Galaxy is just a show? Helmut Zemo broke into a cold sweat, realizing he had gotten carried away. He quickly lowered his head and said, I dare not. I have no contempt or disrespect for any battle process. Chapter 1524, Grand Duke Dawn 1. You must conquer or submit, must win or be disgraced, must be the hammer or the block. History of the Fourth Reich, Chapter 24, first subparagraph. In late May of 20 BBY, the capital of Dawn Star, Dawn City, was the stage for an incomparably grand ceremony. Dawn Star, now the largest military and political group in the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, was taking a significant step forward. Tang Xiao, the governor of Planet Dawn, announced his new title as Grand Duke of Dawn, extending his rule over more than 1,700 galaxies within the influence of Planet Dawn. Previously, the title of Governor of Planet Dawn was merely a planet-level designation, similar to the Queen of Planet Naboo, the Queen of Planet Ziglia, and the King of Planet Toidalia. These titles always had the word planet prefixed, indicating their limited scope. Despite Dawnstar's broad sphere of influence, Tang Xiao's title as governor placed him nominally on par with other planetary leaders. However, in terms of actual status, this did not reflect Tang Xiao's true position. During meetings on the subplanet Laxus, the capital of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, leaders like the Queen of Planet Ziglia and the Grand Duke of Planet Geonosis would not dare to challenge Tang Xiao. Even though Tang Xiao sat at the same table as Trade Federation Governor Newt Gunray, Interstellar Banking Association co-chairman Thorne Hill, and Enterprise Alliance chairman Pascal Argent, these corporate leaders showed him utmost respect. Tang Xiao had become a figure second only to Count Dooku within the Confederation of Independent Galaxies. The faction centered around Dawnstar had grown to be the most powerful force in the Confederation, surpassing even the Trade Federation, which claimed to be the largest enterprise in the Milky Way. Seizing the moment when Republic Speaker Sheev Palpatine issued Order 66, plunging the entire galaxy into turmoil, Tang Xiao declared himself the Grand Duke of Dawn, officially establishing his faction as a separatist force. According to the plan, Count Dooku would soon become the chairman of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, solidifying his rule over the Confederation. This declaration was strategically timed, as the Galactic Republic could not tolerate such a development. Even after more than 2 years of fierce conflict, the Republic still defined the war as a civil war, viewing it as an internal contradiction. Neither Count Dooku nor Tang Xiao had formally claimed to rule their respective forces. While everyone knew Count Dooku was the leader of the Confederation, he had never officially adopted the title. By announcing his new title, Tang Xiao was declaring complete independence from the Galactic Republic. The significance of the title, whether Grand Duke, King, or otherwise, was secondary to the act of drawing a clear line between his faction and the Republic. This move transformed the conflict from an internal contradiction within the Republic to an external conflict between separate entities. Although the facts on the ground remained unchanged, the ideological shift was profound. On this day, the conflict between the two sides escalated to a point of no return. At the ceremony officially announcing the inauguration of Grand Duke Dawn, all the lights on Dawn Planet were extinguished, plunging the entire planet into darkness. The massive industrial star ring ceased its rotation and positioned itself directly above Liming City. Typically, the star ring must rotate continuously with the planet to maintain its orbit, moving along the planet's gravitational pull. The star ring's rotation is generally faster than the planet's to avoid the enormous energy cost of counteracting gravity, which could potentially damage the ring. However, on this occasion, the industrial star ring of Dawnstar halted its spin. It wasn't a complete stop. Rather, it was held in place by a powerful anti-gravity device and reverse thrust engines, maintaining its position above Liming City and synchronizing with the planet's rotation. This seemingly simple action consumed an astronomical amount of energy. Several beams of light emanated from different angles on the star ring, converging on Tang Xiao. He appeared to be standing in midair, though he was actually on a small anti-gravity platform. The clever lighting made it seem as if he were truly floating. The lights from the star ring illuminated him, creating a divine spectacle. To achieve this effect, all clouds over Liming City were continuously cleared. Tang Xiao, standing in midair, began to speak in a deep and solemn voice. "We have endured hardships and overcome countless obstacles to reach this point. Here on Dawnstar Planet, we have established our homeland. Once we were displaced and wandered aimlessly, but now we are grounded. Now we stand in the sunlight. Now we have a home. Countless races and planets recognize our ideals and have stood by us to this day. We are not alone in this galaxy. We are incredibly strong and will become even stronger. We will use our hands to protect our homeland, no matter where the enemy comes from or who they are. Dawn Planet is our starting point. The spirit of natural disasters is our soul. Today, all of this becomes a reality. Dawn Planet is not just a planet, it is a symbol. It represents a journey to go farther, fly higher, and endure struggles. As the Grand Duke of Liming, I will lead and stand with everyone until the end." The light from the star ring began to shift, and Tang Xiao seemed to be the only light in the sky above Dawnstar. At that moment, he was the beacon of hope. Then Earl Dooku, standing on another anti-gravity platform, flew over to Tang Xiao and proclaimed loudly, "It is my honor to witness all of this. With the Grand Duke's presence, we are even stronger."